Practice match season continues. It's game number 3 of our 9-game practice matches on KO Sports, and we've got the reigning premiers against the reigning wooden spooners, but both of these clubs enter 2022 with ample hope and excitement. The D's hoping to try and make it back-to-back. The Roos, so much positivity and glass-half-full vibes about them heading into this season after a big draft period, and we're going to see a lot of those young draftees on display at Casey Fields today. Hello and welcome to the deep southeast of Melbourne for Melbourne and North Melbourne, the D's and the Kangaroos. Ben Waterworth with you alongside triple All-Australian and a heartbroken St Kilda AFLW coach Nick Del Santo. Hello, Del.
A very good morning to you, Ben. Lovely to be here and joined by yourself. And we are standing here, and it is nice. You get the country feel. We are on the fringes of Melbourne, it must be said.
The train line.
We can't ask much more. This is a perfect deck. There has been a lot of AFLW football played on this oval over the last month or so. But you can't ask for much more. So you summarise the two teams. We clearly know what the D's did last year. They're now going to be the hunted. Teams are analysing them. This is a copycat league. So all clubs, including North Melbourne, that were on the bottom of the ladder, go to work. What did they do? What work? What combinations did they have in the midfield? What did their forward-line structure look like? How did they defend as a team? All of that has been behind the scenes over the summer. And for North Melbourne, they get an opportunity to test themselves. Now, clearly against the best, and I think you should be optimistic. We saw signs last year from North Melbourne as individuals about some growth. And also on the back half of the year had a couple of performances that would have warmed the hearts of those North Melbourne supporters. So they're going to be challenged today, but I think they should really look forward to the contest.
So we're having a look at the Melbourne lineup just there. Some names that probably aren't playing. So Jack Viney, Jake Lever and Bailey Fritsch and Harry Petty are probably the names that will not play. Harry Petty's got a calf injury at the moment. Jake Lever's got a rolled ankle and Bailey Fritsch a bruised calf. But they'll just essentially be given the weekend to rest due to soreness as well. Lever's just a minor rolled ankle, and as I mentioned, Bailey Fritsch is a bruised calf. So pretty full strength Melbourne lineup. A couple of younger players will have a chance to impress as we have a look at North Melbourne, Dal, your former club, and there is a lot of draftees. So 5 players from last year's draft, including the Hornet, Jason Horne-Francis. There's going to be a lot of hype about the number 1 pick from last year heading into 2022.
Absolutely, and probably rightly so. Now, we know that this competition has some stars in it, and we're always trying to compare the next star, and is it going to be this young man? We get an opportunity today to see him live. Now, a lot of the vision that we've seen previously, Benny, has been from his time in South Australia. Given the border closure, it's been really difficult to get over and see him in person. He is one person we are all excited, and I think if you are a football lover, you want to see a young man enter the arena and have a bit of a presence about it. I've just watched him do his warm-up. He doesn't take a backward step. He's already a good size. We know what he did at senior level last year in South Australia. And why not test yourself against the premiership midfield? And you mentioned a handful of players that are out for the D's today. Not many are missing in that midfield. It's, Jack Viney's the only probably main one, but it starts with Max Gawn. They've just flipped the coin as both captains, Jack Zeeble and Maxi Gawn, head back to their respective teams and have their last messages before we get this game underway.
So what do you want to see particularly out of this game today? The scoreboard is largely irrelevant, really, but 2 teams coming from totally different ends of the spectrum. What do you want to see out of both teams today?
Is it too simplistic to say I don't want to see any injuries?
Well, that's, I think, priority number 1 for both clubs.
So there's the first bit. You get through the game unscathed. It is a management issue as well. So both teams have a handful of players out, but they will also be probably playing players for particularly a half a game or potentially half a game, 3/4 of a game, knowing that they've got a game next week, the weekend off, and then the season gets started. But I think for North Melbourne, you've got to compete. They don't have the luxury to try and ease their way into this football season. They need to start from this very first bounce, set the scene. Set your target against an opposition player. As I watch Petrarca walk out there. Max Gawn's heading to his position. They've got stars all over the field, the D's. So from a North Melbourne perspective, compete. Find out exactly where you are so you can walk off this ground after 2 hours and say, I do this really well, but I've got a lot of work to do here as well.
So there's going to be 4 25-minute flat quarters today. It was going to be 6 periods earlier, Dal, but a bit of gastro throughout both teams has put a halt to that.
Yes. So there is other viruses going around. Is that what you're telling me, Ben?
That's right. So it was supposed to be, as I mentioned, 6 periods, but due to a little bit of illness in both teams, they've brought that back to 4. So 4 25-minute flat quarters. Pretty good conditions, Dal.
Perfect.
Normally it's pretty blustery out in Casey, but not a lot of wind out there today.
No breeze. So North Melbourne going to the right of screen as Max Gawn lines up. And going up against, looks like it will be Coleman Jones for his first opportunity in the new colours. Going to the left of screen.
And also Hugh Green with the number 18 there, the former Sun. Straight in next to Clayton Oliver.
Two tackling machines.
Very much so. So underway this practice match between the D's and the Kangaroos. Gawn decisively won the tap down. Pickett starting at the centre bounce as well. Immediately wrapped up by Phillips. And Thomas using that lovely sidestep to push the Kangaroos forward. Salem met it first but couldn't gather cleanly. Neil Bullen goes back to go forward, sweeps the handball back, but only as far as Turner. Now to Coleman Jones. Greenwood nicely trapped, and Core, he's back in the lineup, and he sends a long ball deep inside 50 towards the goals, and it's just off to the left. But Aidan Core gets the scoring underway, a player who only played the 2 games last year, but nice to see him back out in the footy field.
It is great to see him, and a good start by the Kangas, getting the ball in their forward half. Todd Goldstein starting out of the goal square with the support of Coleman Jones in the ruck. So let's see how that combination works.
All-Australian from last year, Stephen May, with a thumping kick. And Ben Mackay, almost uncontested in the end, able to take a pretty easy intercept mark. Really developed as a key defender in recent times. Sends it inside the arc. Gawn is there again, so playing kick to kick there, the ruckman. Switches it out towards a 2-on-1 here. Nice spoil on that occasion from Young. And gets the hand pass to Marnie, who's very clever around goal. And that is no exception. Jack Marnie with a lovely snap. Our first goal of the game goes to the 20-year-old who's really starting to cement his spot in this North Melbourne senior lineup.
Oh, what a lovely finish. So Max Gawn rolling behind the football as it was turned over on centre wing. And already you can see the D's trying to get to the edge. So they want to have players on the outside. I'm watching Brayshaw on the wing and their half forwards coming up to get that switch kick on the outside. But that was really, really well read by the Kangas as they go back inside forward 50, and a lovely finish from a young man. And you look at areas that the Kangas can improve, it's this youth, Benny. You've got to find some moments for these young guys. That's a fantastic start by Marnie.
So Marnie gets the first goal of the game. Horn Francis has started almost in forward pocket. He's working with Goldstein and Nick Larkey deep inside forward 50, but no doubt we'll see Horn Francis have a run on the ball at some stage today. Back in the middle, Coleman Jones and Gawn. And Petrarca tries to burst his way through, but again, Thomas is there to trap it. Nicely played. Greenwood again involved early. Kick, though, chopped off by Neil Bullen, and the D's can go forward for the first time today. Neil Bullen able to get around his opponent and give them their first inside 50 entry. Ben Brown presents. Crashed the pack, couldn't take it cleanly. These are numbers around the ball, including Pickett. Mackay wrapped up by Brown. Really hot and tough stuff early as the Roos cleared danger, but only momentarily. It's gone out of bounds in the full.
Well, someone needs to tell Jack Siebel that it's just a practice match and we're warming into it. But that's what you love about that guy. He's unconditional, goes back with the flight of the football, intercepts what would have been a Ben Brown mark.
Rivers will give the D's another entry. Brown caught behind this time. Walker almost could have marked it himself. It's gone to Sparrow. The Langdon who's wearing the long sleeves on a February outing towards the hot spot here. Brown brought it to ground. Chandler, who really impressed this time last year in a trial match against the Tigers. But he's caught holding the ball on this occasion, and the Roos can repel from deep in defence. And the captain involved once again, Jack Siebel.
Deeps have done well to roll up in line with the football, giving no overlap for the Kangas. Therefore, Siebel's going to have to go long to the far side.
And it's gone out of bounds on the full again. So a couple of unforced errors on that outer side. The D's bringing in through Langdon, who's been terrific since joining Melbourne.
He received that kick from Adam Tomlinson as well, so it's great to see him back, Benny.
Yeah, it is. Did an ACL round 7 last year against the Kangaroos. So his first competitive match back against a rival side. As Spargo sends it inside 50. Brown presents, got hands to the ball. Gawn doing the crumbing. Able to feed out the hairball. No clean pickup from either side. Josh Walker happy to wrap it up.
So I'm not great with maths, Ben, but that means he's had a relatively quick return to football, Tomlinson.
Yeah.
He did it in round 7 last year.
April, I want to say, late April.
Yep. That's a good turnaround. He's obviously been extremely diligent with his recovery.
Oh, he's a very fit player as well. We know certainly at the Giants how well he covered the ground playing as a wingman. Now he's gone to the D's and really making an impact as a key defender. That's another kick that's gone out of bounds in the full from the Roos on that outer side. Just struggling to get it out their defensive
They are
half.
trying to be a little bit cute, but the D's do have extra numbers behind the football, one of those being the ruckman sitting behind the footy and Max Gawn. So they've got to just get their balance and get their structure in front of the football as well, the Kangas.
Rivers, well, in the end, didn't quite have enough on it to get to McDonald, but Neil Bourne is there waiting to try and snap it. Zeeble, last line of defence, clears towards a one-on-one. Salem legally got rid of his opponent in Taylor, according to the umpire. So Salem can continue this trend of repeat entries for Melbourne. McDonald caught behind, but he's able to raise up and take a strong contested mark, and we'll have Melbourne's first shot on goal.
Well, I love that forward structure there. You had Ben Brown coming to the near side, almost as a dummy lead, trying to draw his opponent out to create a little bit of space. As they come forward, this is what McDonald does really well. You go back to what he did last year, where he found his best form again, his ability to launch at the football. He's such a difficult matchup. He does it in the air, and we know he can do it at ground level, and a good opportunity for him to get the D's first. 33
goals last year, Tom McDonald. Normally a beautiful kick, and that's no exception. So the D's, after numerous inside 50 opportunities, able to get their first goal, and it comes through Tom McDonald, who was taken in the draft, pick 53 back in 2010, and he's continued to be a great servant for this footy club.
Well, it's a great credit to the coaching staff of the D's as we reflect on last year, because it wasn't that long ago, being 2 years ago, Ben, there was a lot of people, including people at the D's, that were concerned about where he was as a player.
Yep.
You know, they tried him across the half-back line. We know he is so versatile and can play multiple positions. He almost became that fill-in man, but didn't have his own position. But what we saw last year, and this is where it's credit to the D's coaching staff, they found him a position, they worked a system around him, including some of the other forwards. It just worked beautifully last year, and that's a great start.
So Horn Francis is in this centre bounce. He's next to Clayton Oliver as well. Jackson taking the ruck against Coleman Jones. Petrarca attacked it hard. He had Powell for company. Oliver slips the Horn Francis tackle. Able to get it to Petrarca, to Harms. The D's linking up via hands. Jackson and Jordan. Jordan gets there first and sends it deep. It's Brown and Gawn. Brown able to bring it to ground. Crumbed here by Hayden. And copped a high tackle from Clayton Oliver, so the Roos can breathe a sigh of relief here.
D's are doing really well to get on the outside of the Kangas. The slip tackle from Horn Francis to start, that allows the D's to get that overlap handball.
12 games so far in his career, Kyron Hayden. That kick's fallen short of his intended target. Larkey good enough, though, to retreat to Scott, who snaps it around his body. Coleman Jones and Jackson go to work. There's a holding free kick by the non-controlling umpire paid, and it's going to go the way of the Roos. And Stevenson, while he waited for his teammate to run past in Lazaro, didn't quite get there in the end. Very clean there, or almost there from Greenwood. Allows the Roos through Powell and Core to set themselves up. The kick from Core set Marnie a task, but he was up to it. Beautiful handball to Stevenson. Inside 50. Larkey going back with it. Doesn't quite get to him. Zerha here one-on-one with Salem. Larkey copped a high tackle from Hibbard, according to the umpire. And Larkey, who had a terrific 2021 campaign, can have a set shot.
It was good play by the big fella. Maybe a little bit fortunate as he went to pick that football up. Not sure if he kept his head down for a fraction longer to draw that free kick, but it's a long way down for the big fella. But some good passages of play. You talk about waiting for that overlap handball. That's your opportunity, particularly for your Stevenson. Just take the ball and go. That's what you're really good at. Put the D's defence under some pressure. 3 goals in North's intra-club last week, Nick Larkey. Normally a beautiful kick. And he's dead straight on this occasion. So North get their second. And Larkey, after a 42-goal 2021 campaign, gets his first in this practice match. Amazing that he's looming as this real presence, this potent presence inside 50, and he was taken with pick 73 5-6 years ago. And what I love about his kicking style, it's simplistic. Yes. For any young man or boy or girl watching this at home, just have a look at Nick Larkey's style. There's no fuss about it. He walks directly towards his target, points that toe, follows through after the kick, and he gets the desired result. That was a very impressive. Those numbers surprised me a little bit, Ben, given how tough it was for the Kangas over the last year or two, but it's a nice start. It gives them a good option up forward. Gawn and Coleman Jones. Gawn decisively down towards Oliver, but bumped off it there by Powell. To Coleman Jones, who started this game in the ruck. He's kicked forward just over the head of Bowie and Marnie, but Marnie's got pace, as does Salem. Marnie keeps it alive. Salem able to ensure the Roos can't gather some momentum. And a high free kick going the way of Salem, deep in the back pocket. And a terrific 2021 season, Salem, including a
great grand final performance as the premiership captain takes another contested mark.
How about this man's finals campaign last year?
Pretty good.
Not too bad. Set a standard for himself.
Hoping for Ben Brown. The D's again able to bring the ball to ground. Pickett was there, but nicely picked up by Powell to Horn Francis, who kicks inside 50, just over the head of Zerha. And Tomlinson able to meet it and see it over the line. Adam Tomlinson. 160 AFL games, Tomlinson, 140 with the Giants. This will be his third year with the D's, but essentially it's sort of 1 1/3, considering that he missed 2/3 of last season due to that ACL injury. Coleman Jones from the stoppage. There is Tomlinson marking last line of defence.
So let's look at this matchup with Coleman Jones going in the ruck against Max Gawn. Goldstein still playing out of the goal scorer. Whether this is a tactical, whether this is just a trial to see how that balance works. You know, Todd Goldstein probably isn't at his level even last year that he was 3 or 4 years ago where he was the All-Australian ruckman, but he's still a fine player. I think sometimes we look over that next group of really good ruckmen because we get drawn to Gawn and Natanui and it may be a Grundy as well, but I don't mind so far Goldie out of the goal square.
Stevenson hoping for Powell. Oliver right in his tail there. Both players lap it up. And holding the ball is called. So North Melbourne can again send an inside 50, but the D's have had ample time to get numbers back. This is Powell. Hoping to try and spear it in towards Zerha. Ball travels over the back. Marnie again, wonderful pick up and spin in the one motion. Forces it over the line and out of bounds. Because you mentioned Coleman Jones before. He really was... Well, the consensus externally was that he was brought in to give them another forward target and let Goldstein ruck. But if he can sort of hold down a ruck position with Goldstein certainly closer to the end of his career than the start, that'd be really handy for David Noble and his side.
Absolutely.
Hibberd clears. McDonald and Josh Walker. Pounced on by Mackay. High right foot kick goes out of bounds on the full.
So there's a couple of plays I'm interested in. The first one is Pollock on the near side. He's going up against Brayshaw. We know the contract that he had going back 3 or 4 years ago. We know that he's been delisted and then re-rookied. Where does he find his best football? Is it still on the wing? Is there another possibility for him to play somewhere else?
Josh Walker threw it away according to the umpire, and the D's will take the advantage. Tom McDonald. Kick forward, not clean off the boot. And Kane Turner able to mop up. And a clever little kick to Walker in the end. That was Josh Walker to Patrick Walker. But Hayden is put under the hammer by Alex Neil-Bullen, who forces a stoppage. Wanted holding the ball on that outer side, but none forthcoming. And Neil-Bullen was one of the great stories of Melbourne's premiership success last year. Terrific, consistent season. Free kick going the way here of North.
He really went from a role player to being a role player with an impact, didn't he,
Yes.
Neil-Bullen last year? Like a lot of them did, and clearly when you're winning games of football, you play your role and you accept it, but he executed it beautifully.
May went up high, and Hibberd copped the Falcon behind. Before that, though, there was perhaps a free kick, and we'll be going against Larkey in the way of May.
All the play on the far side. We've got Pollock and Brayshaw. Oh, let's go on the other way.
Take that back.
But it's been reversed.
So Larkey will now give the Roos another forward entry. Zerha with Smith one-on-one, the two number 44s, and Joel Smith thumps it through for a minor.
The other one to keep an eye on, Ben, as we try and work out what North Melbourne are, it's the first time in about 10 years Robbie Tarrant hasn't been in defence. So he's been a pillar. He's done a lot of that work by himself. He's been a leader of that football club for a very, very long time, sets a high standard. So for the first time in a game situation, the Kangas try and work their way through not having a Robbie Tarrant player there.
A lot of responsibility on Ben Mackay. And there's Josh Walker as well. And we noticed this yesterday. I did the Essendon Bulldogs game with Brendan Goddard, and he was talking about a lot of other clubs playing copycat with the D's and how they used, Jake Lever or Stephen May as that almost a wicket keeper playing deep in defence all the time. And it looks like Ben Mackay was doing that on that occasion. Do you expect that to be a trend, that we'll see that last line of defence being used by a lot more teams this year?
I think the thing you need to be careful of, if you try and model yourself on Melbourne, You need to make sure you've got a Stephen May type that can can roll off at the right time, but is as good as anybody one-on-one. If you want to have a Jake Lever type who is so smart, Jake Lever is brilliant at recognising that his opponent's gone into an irrelevant position, and therefore he rolls off. But if you don't have those style of players, whether it be by physical attributes, but also the knowledge of the game, you can actually catch yourself out trying to be something that you're not. But what I like about the Kangas behind the football is they're still one-on-one. They've just got goal side depth.
Yep. Nice hands there from the D's. Jackson to Jordan to Pickett, and he's got ample speed. And through the middle of Casey go the D's, and Jordan has Ben Brown working hard. And you'd almost back him from here, Brown, but he sees teammates working hard further field. And James Harms has found some space and can line up for the goal.
Oh, that's just beautiful ball movement. That is really, really difficult to stop. The only way you can stop that, Ben, has got to be at the source. Coming from the forward 50 of the Kangas, you can't allow the D's to get goal side and run straight through the middle of the ground. I want to see more of Cozzy Pickett getting that ball, tucking it under the arm and taking the opposition on. It is electrifying.
He was excellent last year. Cozzy Pickett is playing as that forward. As Harms keeps it low, doesn't keep it straight. That's Melbourne's first blemish on the scoreboard. Yeah, Pickett was electric around the goals last year. We've seen him play a little bit further up the field so far. If he can use that speed, it's going to be must-watch footy, the D's, this year.
I still think he's a forward. A lot of players coming into the competition will start forward and always want to get into the midfield. I think Cozzy Pickett is a pinch hit in the midfield, but he's just a genuine forward that just causes headaches.
Mark taken by Larkey. That kick came from Young, though, and Larkey trying to link up here with Bergman. It's Miller Bergman, the draftee from last year, but Salem again, right place, right time. Bowie. 7 games and he's got his flag next to his name.
How nice is that? The only problem is, where do you go from here, Ben? If you played 7 and you get a little dangler from it.
He's an exciting player, though, Jake Bowie. He really worked hard for Casey in the VFL to earn his spot. And was a key part of that premiership lineup.
Doesn't it show the depth of the D's as well? To be able to bring somebody in after that amount of games and have trust in them on grand final day. And performed.
Zeeble wins the free kick for North. He's going to switch the ball towards some open space. Taken here by Patrick Walker. And Stevenson's found some grass. And athletically marks and in one motion plays on and kicks, hoping for Marnie, but May talked about how he's able to read the ball, come off his opponent at the right time. That was on display there. Langdon in front of a pretty healthy crowd, it has to be said, in Casey today.
Clearly no one works on a Thursday morning.
No. If you're not, if you've got KO Sports on in the background, nice to have your company. Gorn with another contested mark. Very open Melbourne forward 50. And tracking back with it is Jackson. Got hands to the ball. Harms was there as well to try and create some forward half pressure. Scott rushes a kick away. Langdon able to bump Patrick Walker off the ball and put it towards the full forward area. Ben Brown underneath. Harms waiting for the crumb. Thomas and Spargo fight for the ball. Umpire will ball it up in a dangerous spot here for the North Melbourne defence.
So we spoke pre-game, coming up to the 18-minute mark of this first quarter, about North Melbourne competing. That needed to be the cornerstone of their game today. They needed to be able to go head-to-head, shoulder-to-shoulder, particularly around these stoppages. They've held their own so far.
Sparrow to Chandler, who wanted to get on his left foot there. Zeeble waiting to mop up the mess. On the left, that's a good kick as well. Patrick Walker involved again. Powell sends it towards absolutely no one. And that is May mopping up. Just a reminder, no Jake Lever today. Just a minor ankle roll last week. Just taking this game off. Bowie caught one high. But umpire didn't see it. So it'll be tossed back in right in front of that scoreboard, which reads North Melbourne leading by 7 points.
That's a perfect example of that forward structure. So the forwards of North Melbourne are all retreating back, trying to do the right thing to try and help their defence. But as a result, the consequence is you don't have any representation for the football. The D's are just sitting there waiting.
Young turned it over via hand, and the D's can pounce. Bowie, beautiful handball from Sparrow to Petrarca. The superstar goes long inside 50. Ben Brown got a kind bounce in the half volley. Back to Spargo with the outside of the boot, hoping for Harms. Couldn't find it in the end. Jackson tries to keep the ball alive inside 50. Zeeble makes it somebody else's issue. And a good contest there from the Roos to bring the ball to ground and set Stevenson away. He's got a speedster behind him, though, in Langdon. So Stevenson was brought down in the end. That affected the kick. And that defensive effort from Langdon brings a round of applause from the fans as Smith sees it out of bounds.
It's a great chase from Langdon. Anybody else, Stevenson was off and not going to be caught, but he realised he could feel the pressure coming from behind. Just those little things allow the defenders behind the football just to get set, to take proactive position and to force the Kangas a little bit wider.
It's a 25-minute flat quarters reminder, so just over 5 minutes remaining. Gawn torps it out of the stoppage, but Ben Mackay waiting to intercept Mark there. Short to Powell, who's found a bit of the ball. Very impressive first season from the South Australian junior last year.
Got big high hopes on Powell. He's done some really nice things in his short career so far.
Josh Walker brought it to ground along with Mackay. Hemel from Turner to Phillips to Scott. You want to switch it towards the outer wing here. Patrick Walker under pressure from Brayshaw, but did well to get the hand pass away. Bergman can't quite slip the tackle. Marnie back to Patrick Walker, and they can assess from here. It's a very congested forward line. Larkey tried to grab it. Coleman Jones also got hands to it. Coleman Jones follows it up to Marnie. Handball just overshot his target there in Taylor, and the D's can rebound through Oliver. Best and fairest in a premiership year last year. Clayton Oliver, All-Australian as well. Nice kick as well to find Spargo on that occasion.
And that's an area of his game, Benny. Hit the nail on the head. His kicking had improved out of sight last year. There were some suggestions that he needed to handball the ball more because his kicking wasn't up to standard. Well, not only did he bring teammates into the game with his handball, but his kicking improved.
Yes. Oh, big hit there from Salem on Goldstein. High free kick will be going the way of North Melbourne.
I'll be coming back to
Larkey.
Larkey it is.
Yeah. Zeeble calls for calm.
So they're getting enough inside 50s, the Kangas, but as you can see in front of the football, the D's are getting numbers behind the footy. They've got 3 extra defenders at the moment.
Polek will want his left. He goes towards a 2-on-2. Taron Thomas was there. Got hands to the footy. Rivers to Gawn to May. Hoping for McDonald. Doesn't quite get there. Intercepted by Polek. Who can have another crack? But there's a lot of red and blue jumpers in that defensive 50.
They've got 17 in defensive 50.
So good luck marking this, and particularly if Max Gawn's in the vicinity. Marnie almost pinched it. Horn Francis, a little hand pass out there. Taylor brought down. Zerha on hands and knees. Feeds it out to Phillips. Back to Scott. He gains some territory. Goldstein in front. May able to bump him out of the ball. Great tackle from Thomas. Stevenson on the left. Around the body. Just off to the right. The Roos continue to pepper. It's 5 scoring shots to 2 in this first quarter.
I'm not sure if Simon Goodwin will be thrilled by the style of football that the D's are playing. They've got extra numbers behind the football. They're not coming forward and trying to play the game in their forward half. They're happy to retreat and be defending. 22 and a half gone in this first quarter.
May hoping for Salem. Gosh, he set him a task. And Taron Thomas, unfortunately from a North Melbourne perspective, interfered with illegally on Salem there. Thomas is an exciting prospect for North Melbourne fans, isn't he?
Extremely. He's one of the young group coming through. You try and find where the growth's going to come from the Kangas. Well, he's one of those.
Ability to hit the scoreboard, 24 goals from 21 games last year. As he's brought down by Salem, who gives Thomas some of his own medicine after seconds beforehand, copping one himself.
It's the X factor that Taron Thomas brings.
Yeah.
It's the unknown about which way he's going to turn and how he picks up the football. He's so creative.
Horn Francis, nice little handball out. Taylor brought down by Rivers in the end. Trent Rivers, one of a number of WA draftees onto this Melbourne side, most notably Luke Jackson won the 2021 Rising Star Award last year. Goldstein and Gawn. Gawn won it down, but only as far as Young. D's accelerated away from the stoppage, and Petrarca is executing that kick to perfection to Jackson. They're so exciting when they get on the outside. Jackson to Spargo, needs a kind bounce. Might go off the deck himself. Charlie Spargo! A pre-season highlight, if you don't mind, from Charlie Spargo. Kicks it off the deck and the D's get their second of the game.
Well, it's coast to coast. That's the second time we've seen the D's go from their defensive 50, coming out the front of the stoppage again, Ben. That is just so crucial. A clean exit coming out the front puts so much pressure on the structures and also the one-on-ones of those defenders.
Was that deliberate?
We're going to pay everything
today.
Of course. They've had a summer of working on this. Let's say that was absolutely deliberate. But it's the ability to get the ball into that forward half, take those one-on-ones. And once again, you speak about those role plays. We touched on Neil Bullen earlier. Charlie Spargo is so appreciated internally for the work that he does defensively as that small forward. And every now and then you pop up and you're allowed to kick a goal as well. We saw it last year, and that was just a lovely finish from a talented young man.
Yeah.
How electrifying are they? How fast are they on turnover or coming out the front of that stoppage? So if you're the Kangas, the message would be for that midfield group, you need to keep the D's goal side.
Yep.
They cannot come through the front of a stoppage clean like that.
Jackson down to Oliver, and here they go this time from the centre bounce. The Star accelerates away, hoping for McDonald, and in the front, in the end, Brown comes through, and arms fully raised, clunks the contested grab, and we'll go back for this trademark set shot technique.
Let me just add another layer onto that, Ben. It's extremely easy to say, particularly up here. It is so difficult to execute.
Of course.
When you've got Clayton Oliver bursting out of a centre square bounce, putting out in front of Ben Brown, who's got the longest arms in AFL. It is easy to say, very, very difficult to stop.
So we know this long run-up from Ben Brown, which has been so effective for many years. 25 goals last year, 9 times he kicked 2 goals or more from his 13 games. And perfectly executed. So the D's hit the lead in Casey. As we tick towards the end of the first quarter, Melbourne lead by 4 points. So we've got our time running up here, but I'm just looking at the scoreboard on the outer side there. They might be stopping after goals. So there's 2 minutes 34 on the scoreboard left at the moment on that outer side. So we'll keep an eye on the siren. But the fact that Ben Brown was able to come in the back half of last year, Dal, and have such an important impact, kick 3 goals in the grand final, this would have been so pleasing for him after such a few tough years at North Melbourne.
Absolutely, and also how pivotal he was to North Melbourne. The idea that he was getting moved on, or there was a conversation that this may not be the best place for you.
Yep.
The acceptance of role, it took him a while to get in there. They were really trying to work out what their best forward line looked like. Were they too tall?
Yep.
But they eventually worked it out with Wiedemann being the one that got squeezed out.
Petrarca, Oliver, Sparrow, so there's a lot of open space in front of him. The Chandler, who won his left side here, shrugs the tackle, has a good look at the goals, and the D's have 3 on the trot.
I think we saw that towards the end of the third quarter not that long ago, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Just bursting out of that centre square bounce. Petrarca was there just in case the handball was needed. That's the responsibility of the midfielders as we have another look at this. So there's Petrarca. Greenwood's drawn to him to put that tackle on. There's Oliver to clean up. Look at Petrarca's follow-up.
Yes.
So he was in that initial contest. He was brought to ground by Greenwood. Look at the gap he's put on Greenwood. That's the power running, getting forward of the football. That's just far too easy. Far too easy.
This is the thing. Petrarca's only 26 years of age. Oliver's only 24. There's a lot of great footy left in this Melbourne midfield.
Yeah, which is it's scary for the rest of the competition, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll ask this question later. We're going to have this conversation for both clubs. Who improved?
Yeah.
Now, clearly for the D's, it doesn't need to be huge improvement. They did that last year, but the competition's still looking at them. They're going to be challenged multiple times. Who needs to improve for the D's to go back-to-back?
He just wondered, and we mentioned him before, who brought the ball inside 50 was Sparrow. He's having a good run in the centre bounces already, so if he can lift his output, he might be a key plank in this Melbourne back-to-back premiership defence campaign. It's a free kick for a high tackle here going the way of the Roos, and they finally get a chance to breathe. It's been all Melbourne essentially for the past 5 minutes, really. And Zeeble has core tucked up on the boundary line. So the Roos kicked 2 of the first 3 goals of the game, but Melbourne have kicked the last 3 themselves. Core towards Coleman, Jones and Goldstein. Unrealistic sprawling attempt there from May will give Goldstein a chance to send the Roos inside 50 the first time in a while. We'll use the left foot here of Polek, who gets around Petrarca, gets around Brayshaw, goes back to Goldstein, who can't quite escape the grasp of Petrarca. And this Demons defence is hungry. And they swarm forward once again. Brown, Oliver, Can't get around Taron Thomas. He may have got boot to ball there, but umpire says holding the ball nonetheless.
What a brilliant tackle. What great transition from Taron Thomas. They'd overpossessed the football on the near side, trying to get that overlap handball with Goldstein and Polak.
He's just favouring his left hand a little bit here.
Hopefully just a dislocated finger by the look of it as he comes to the bench.
Harms waiting to come on. In the meantime,
yeah, that's a dislocated finger.
Thomas goes inside 50. Stevenson waiting for the crumb. Back to Phillips, to Polak. Fumbled just at the wrong time. Horn Francis. Terrific smother from Neil Bullen. Great follow-up tackle from Horn Francis. Stevenson goes short and finds Zeeble. Oliver just coming to the bench, wincing a little bit in pain, just favouring that left arm.
It's definitely a dislocated finger, but the way he's reacting to it's probably like you and I getting a scratch. It hasn't phased him too much. He's too tough for that. He'll have that strapped up and he'll go straight back on.
Yeah, if there is any risk, obviously the D's will not be taking any of that 20 days before their round one encounter against the Western Bulldogs. Bowie. Roosewant holding the ball, unforthcoming. That is quarter time at Casey Fields. The Roos had a really promising start, but then the Demons just flexed their muscle a little bit late in that quarter. 3 goals on the trot has given them a 10-point advantage at the first change. Melbourne 4-1-25, North Melbourne 2-3-15. Great to have you with us wherever you're watching on KO Sports. It's quarter time in this practice match between the D's and the Roos. We'll take a short break. And on the other side, we'll have expert analysis from Nick Del Santo and second quarter action in just a few moments. To kick there, the ruckman switches it out towards a 2-on-1 here. Nice spoil on that occasion from Young, and gets the hand pass to Marnie, who's very clever around goal, and that is no exception. Jack Marnie with a lovely snap. Our first goal of the game goes to the 20-year-old who's there, the ruckman. Switches it out towards a 2-on-1 here. Nice spoil on that occasion from Young, and gets the hand pass to Marnie, who's very clever around goal, and that is no exception. Jack Marnie with a lovely snap. Our first goal of the game goes to the 20-year-old who's trend of repeat entries for Melbourne. McDonald caught behind, but he's able to raise up and take a strong contested mark, and we'll have Melbourne's first shot on goal. Trend of repeat entries for Melbourne. McDonald caught behind, but he's able to raise up and take a strong contested mark, and we'll have Melbourne's first shot on goal.
For him to get the D's first.
33 goals last year, Tom McDonald. Normally a beautiful kick, and that's no exception. So the D's, after numerous inside 50 opportunities. Walker, but Hayden is put under the hammer by Alex Neil Bullen, who forces a stoppage. They want to holding the ball on that outer side
depth.
Yep. Nice hands there from the D's. Jackson to Jordan to Pickett, and he's got ample speed. And through the middle of Casey go the D's, and Jordan has Ben Brown working hard. And you'd almost back him from here, Brown, but he sees teammates working hard further field. And James Harms has found...
His kicking improved.
Yes. Oh, big hit there from Salem on goal to Jackson. They're so exciting when they get on the outside. Jackson to Spargo, needs a kind bounce. Might go off the deck himself. Charlie Spargo! A pre-season highlight, if you don't mind, from Charlie to Jackson. They're so exciting when they get on the outside. Jackson to Spargo, needs a kind bounce. Might go off the deck himself. Charlie Spargo! A pre-season highlight, if you don't mind, from Charlie. Jackson down to Oliver, and here they go this time from the centre bounce. The Star accelerates away, hoping for McDonald, and in the front, in the end, Brown comes through, and arms fully raised, clunks the contest. Jackson down to Oliver, and here they go this time from the Star accelerates away, hoping for McDonald, and in the front, in the end, Brown comes through, and arms fully raised, clunks the contest. 5 goals last year, 9 times he kicked 2 goals or more from his 13 games, and perfectly executed. So the D's hit the lead in case. 5 goals last year, 9 times he kicked 2 goals or more from his 13 games, and perfectly executed. So the D's hit the lead in case.
They were really trying to work out what their best forward line looked like. Were they too tall?
Yep.
But they eventually worked it out with Wiedemann being the one that got squeezed out.
Petrarca, Oliver, Sparrow. So there's a lot of open space in front of him. The Chandler, who won his left side here, shrugs the tackle, has a good look at the goals, and the D's have 3 on the trot.
I think we saw that towards the end of the third quarter.
Forward once again. Brown, Oliver, can't get around Taron Thomas. He may have got boot to ball there, but umpire says holding the ball nonetheless.
What a brilliant tackle.
There, the ruckman switches it out towards a 2-on-1 here. Nice spoil on that occasion from Young, and gets the hand pass to Marnie, who's very clever around goal, and that is no exception. Jack Marnie with a lovely snap. Our first goal of the game goes to the 20-year-old who's there, the ruckman. Switches it out towards a 2-on-1 here. Nice spoil on that occasion from Young, and gets the hand pass to Marnie, who's very clever around goal, and that is no exception. Jack Marnie with a lovely snap. Our first goal of the game goes to the 20-year-old who's trend of repeat entries for Melbourne. McDonald caught behind, but he's able to raise up and take a strong contested mark, and we'll have Melbourne's first shot on goal. Trend of repeat entries for Melbourne. McDonald caught behind, but he's able to raise up and take a strong contested mark, and we'll have Melbourne's quarter time at Casey Fields in this AFL pre-season practice match. Melbourne 4-1-25 to North Melbourne 2-3. 15 goals to Ben Brown, Chandler, McDonald and Spargo for the Roos. For the Demons rather, and for North Melbourne, 1 goal each to Larkey and to Jack Marnie. Ben Waterworth with you alongside Triple All-Australian Nick Dal Santo. Dal, was a very entertaining first quarter, lots of free open play, but from a Melbourne perspective, their ability to go coast to coast was exhilarating.
Absolutely. They did a lot of things right, the Kangas. Now, the 2 areas of concern as we get to why the D's are an extremely good team, Ben, was their ability to move the ball from their D50, the length of the field, and almost on the Kangas defence, but they had a lot of the football in their forward half, the Kangas. D sitting behind the football. Now, whether that was by design or that the Kangas were getting too high and were allowing extra numbers behind the football naturally, whichever way it was, I think it needs to be tidied up. They need to get that balance better and actually have better structure behind the football to minimise the threat when the D's come out the front of that stoppage. So it is the inability of the Kangas to keep it in the contest. When you've got, and we said this, it's extremely difficult, easy for you and I to say, but when you've got Oliver bursting through, you've got Petrarca bursting through, you've got to keep them goal side. It just puts so much pressure on your defence. But by saying that, Kangas did a lot right. You know, they were under the pump for a period of that first quarter, were able to move the ball in a conservative way, but move their way up the ground and actually have enough forward 50 entries. Just got to find a way to capitalise. 2 goals, 3 versus the 4 goals, 1. I reckon if you're walking off the ground right now as players go back to the position, Kangas would be happy with their contest. Just got to get that balance right, particularly around the stoppages.
So the Demons and Roos head towards back to their respective positions. Melbourne with a 10-point advantage as well. We saw a couple of Melbourne players who have been listed to play warming up at quarter time. That was included Sam Wiedemann, Jaden Hunt, Toby Bedford. Probably see them a little bit later on in today's game as well. We saw a little bit of Jason Horne-Francis in the middle, as well as Hugh Greenwood in particular. You'd suggest he's going to be a permanent fixture of that centre bounce starting output, and Tom Powell as well.
Particularly with no Ben Cunnington as well. You think about the style of Ben Cunnington, that big body, really good around the contested situation. Now, ideally, he would be there next to Greenwood, but it is almost the same style of play that just loves to get right in there underneath Goldstein's hands.
Second quarter underway. Goldstein and Gawn to do battle. A 10-point differential between these two sides. Gawn won it down, but Goldstein got the clearance to Greenwood, to Goldstein, working it out via hand. Inside 50, Coleman Jones attacked it hard, but Rivers floats back, intercepts. And they again work their way through the middle of Casey Fields. Harmslow put Salem under the hammer, but Salem was up to the task. Tomlinson gives the D's a forward 50 entry. Brown got hands to the ball. Crumbing there was Pickett. Put it towards McDonald's advantage. Sees a couple of options deep towards the goal square. Hayden under the pump. And the Kangaroos are able to repel here through Goldstein, and Polek gets the clearing kick. Zerha one-on-one here with Hibberd, and Hibberd did well to win a one-on-one. Had Oliver in support, and Oliver He's back on the field after a dislocated finger in that first quarter. Neil Bullen to Harms.
So no issues with Oliver. Did come off the ground, got his finger put back into place in front of us, and then went into the rooms just for a further checkup.
McKay one-on-one there with Brown, and well played by Ben McKay to take a strong mark in front.
That's a great grab. Went looking for the body, it wasn't there. Then he thought, I'll just go for the football and take front position. That's a poor execution of a simple kick, though.
You mentioned no Robbie Tarrant, though. He's probably going to be the guy that has to lift his output somewhat, and also responsibility.
Yeah, and it probably flows on. You're looking at someone like a Core, who may be undersized at times, but he's just going to have to play a little bit bigger, probably out of his comfort zone, given that you don't have the stability of the Robbie Tarrant next to him.
Yep. So McDonald keeps it low towards the top of the goal square, and there is McKay again. He was paid the mark in the end. He had some treatment there from Kane Turner. He's some friendly fire, but umpire said he held it long enough. Polek had an opportunity there to clear, but he's kicked it out of bounds, and the full was really off balance as he put through that. He attempted that left foot kick. But yeah, big season for Jared Polek after being re-rookie by the club. Now Max Gawn lining up here. We know he can launch a big one. He doesn't go for goal here. He goes towards McDonald, who read that superbly off the boot and now has an easy set shot attempt.
Well, it's just weighted numbers. Kangas putting themselves under more pressure than they needed, trying to be a little bit cute off that half-back line. But I love that kick from Max Gawn. That's almost a set play. That is a come up, allow your defender to sit underneath the football like McKay was just then, and you launch over the top of him. You actually sit the ball on the spare defender's head.
Great kick from Gawn, allows McDonald to kick his second goal, and that's 5 on the trot now for the D's. As Tom McDonald puts through his second goal, should tick over his 200-game milestone as well this year. Tom McDonald with 142 goals to his name. So the D's now starting to show some authority at Casey Field. So what do you say, particularly if you're David Noble at quarter time, what would have been your address or your key focus against the D's?
Well, it just depends what their focus was coming in, but there would have been 2 clear messages I would have been saying. I would have gone straight to the midfield and say, hey, that's unacceptable. Like, we can understand that you will lose stoppages at times. It can't be out the front.
Yeah.
We call that clean ball, opposed to dirty, where it's a rush kick or it's not, the perfect execution. So you've got to minimise the damage coming out of the middle. And what I'd be saying to the Kangas right now is, you're under pressure. Let's have some forward structure, get our tools long down the line. We are okay with a long kick to a contest and take a stoppage. That's a win.
There's Powell and Greenwood working in tandem in the centre bounce. Thomas to Goldstein, who sends it towards half forward. Horn Francis attacked it hard. Nicely crumbed, though, by Taylor. Just off balance as he kicked, though. And that's a clean pick up there from Chandler. Just gets boot to ball, but only as far as Thomas. Taylor. As Patrick Walker on the outer side. Taylor disposed of it legally according to the umpire. Oliver there to pick up.
So strong by Oliver, just standing up in that tackle and giving off the hands.
Thumping left foot from Hibberd finds Ben Brown. He dropped the simple chest mark. Spargo calling for it in the pocket. Heads in that direction now. He's got Core for company. And he runs out of real estate in the end. Core there right on his hammer. And the strength of Oliver on display once again.
It's an obvious example, isn't it? Just 2 teams, individuals, but as a collective, just at different stages in their development. Kangas fumbling every now and then, slipping over, getting tackled in the ball dislodging, opposed to that Oliver one. Just stands up and gives it off on his terms.
Polek just able to get a hand pass off to Powell.
They're really swarming as well, the D's. I'd be interested to speak to Simon Goulden about, are you actually collapsing in? Are you actually putting too many people towards the tackler?
Yep.
And I know it's paying off at the moment. Just wonder whether that, against a clean team, whether you'd actually get overlapped and therefore leapfrogged. But so far it's working.
Harms put his head over the ball and able to feed it out towards Petrarca, who on his left foot snaps towards goal, and a rare blemish from Christian Petrarca as that one was out of bounds in the full. Last competitive game was a pretty decent one. One of the best individual grand final performances we've seen for a while.
Better than Dusty?
Luke Shuey's 2018 grand final is seriously good as well. But Petrarca at the 39, a couple of goals as well.
I think anyone that plays half decent or just a good solid game on grand final day is okay in my books, let alone winning the medal.
Did you ever poll a Norm Smith vote in your grand finals that you played?
I could honestly say I don't know.
Right,
I could honestly assume that no would be the answer to that.
Okay, right. I would have thought you would know.
No, I don't.
Gawn and Goldstein. Thomas fumbled. He's had a lot of time on the ball so far, Taron Thomas. Oliver spun in the tackle. Pickett fed out the handball. Goldstein and Gawn going head-to-head again. Pickett brings down Thomas. A little dangerous with the tackle, but...
It's got him too high. It wasn't the sling or the dump afterwards. He got done for the initial contact being over the shoulder. And now there's 50. I think that's a little bit of back chat. That's come from about 20 metres away from the play.
So Thomas will be advanced towards the edge of the centre square here. Plays on immediately, but there's a lot of demons around this ball. One of them is Gawn, who's so good at getting back to help out his defenders. Coleman Jones won it back, though, to Taylor. And Marnie just fumbled at the wrong time. The D's just a little cleaner at the clinches at the moment. Pickett accelerates away. McDonald got up high, hit the deck hard. There's a bit of a tunnel there from Turner. Free kick goes the way of McDonald, has 2 goals to his name so far. Great to have you with us on KO Sports, the third of our 9 pre-season practice matches. Flurry of games, particularly on Friday, and then we finish with Geelong and Richmond on Saturday. Langdon receives on the wing. They've switched the ball with ample efficiency here. Spargo, 80 metres out, inboard to Oliver. Roos have got numbers back, but Oliver is still not able to quite find a teammate. Greenwood intercepts, and they play on quickly here, the Roos. Lazaro received from Phillips. Zerha all the way up in the middle of the ground.
Got no forwards, though.
Bergman tried to look to one of his only forwards on offer in Coleman Jones, but sitting in the hole was May. And Langdon sees some free grass in front of him and kicks along towards Brown. Ball travels over the back, and it goes over the line and out of bounds in a dangerous position for the North Melbourne defence.
That's another example. We saw the 2 out of bounds on the full deep in the Kangas defence, which put pressure on. But that's also another example how it puts pressure on them. They're losing their structure forward of the football. So when the Kangas are under pressure, coming through the half-back flank or through the middle, they've got no options. And Stephen May far too smart just picking that ball off.
Hayden was in there for North Melbourne. Patrick Walker applies the tackle. Hayden feeds out a hand pass. Greenwood and Petrarca do battle. McDonald lost control. Oliver gained control. Greenwood won it back, though, for North and clears the defensive 50. Meeting it first there is Coleman Jones, brought down by Gawn. Skipper asserting his authority. Bowie retreats to Neil Bullen, not the 15. That is just 15 to Sparrow. Tries to find a teammate inside 50. Brown met it. Thumped away there by his former teammate in Zeeble. Hayden. Horne-Francis checks the kick and places it nicely for Taylor.
It's a lovely kick. So this is the opportunity for the Kangas just to take a breath, get your structures in front of the football, get some yardage.
And the ball has lived predominantly in Melbourne's forward half in recent minutes as Greenwood marks almost in the middle of the ground.
That was a gutsy kick, well executed.
Can they make the most of it? Patrick Walker. So rookie pick from the 2020 rookie draft. Yet to play a game, but having a really good look at it from a defensive point of view today. That kick was looking for Horne-Francis, but just pumped away from him. Speaking of Horne-Francis, famously in the lead up to the draft, Scotty Clayton, who's seen a lot of footy for 30-odd years as a recruiter, said Jason Horne-Francis was as good as any number 1 in years that he can remember.
Okay.
And so high expectations.
So he's got a little bit to live up to, the young man.
His Sandful season last year was to die for. Gosh, that is a gutsy kick, a well-executed kick from the D's. It might go all the way for a goal. A long left foot from Chandler has found its way through the middle. Brown didn't even have to touch it.
That's gone 75 metres and 68 of them were on the fly.
Terrific kick from Chandler. He has got his 2nd goal of the game, and the D's have 5 on the bounce.
What a lovely finish. There was an issue with the Kangas' defence as that ball was thrown in on the half-back flank. Ben Brown was out goal side. Far too much space, even if that ball hadn't have gone the distance. Look at that kick from Chandler. I'll have to have another look at that. I want to see that on the side-on angle to see if that was actually behind the centre circle when he pumped that inside forward 50.
Only 3 bounces and through it went. And that's a big confidence booster for Kay Chandler, who was linked to the Adelaide Crows pretty heavily during last year's trade period. Nothing came to fruition in the end.
Let's have a look at this again on the replay. Here he comes through the middle of the ground. So the missed handball. There's the turnover. Look how devastating.
He kicked that behind the centre square.
That's further than I thought. I reckon I've stolen 15 metres off him. Look at that ball dribble. Beautiful finish. And if it didn't go through himself, Ben Brown was there to grab it anyway.
Second goal for Chandler. Sparrow again in the centre bounce. Wrapped up by Phillips. Sparrow goes again. Try to feed it out towards Neil Bullen. Third time lucky for Sparrow, who sends it into the arc. Jordan has 2 to beat here. One of them is Young, working with Bergman, but Jordan applies a great, well, I thought it was a great tackle, but the umpire said it was too high. And Young can repel here for North. Former Bulldog. He's first season with the Roos last year, playing the 17 games. Holding free kick call by the umpire to go the way of Coleman Jones. Who's been involved in a lot of contests in this first half.
And that's all you can ask for your tools, particularly when you're under pressure. Get that long down the line option. Don't allow the opposition to mark the ball. That's a poor kick.
And the D's have got some space and smell some blood once again. Oliver to Neil Bullen. A little sloppy via hand, but they're able to work it out to Tomlinson, to Langdon. Langdon starting to get busy on that outer wing. Sends it deep inside 50. Brown well positioned, but well done by Core just to put himself in a decent position there to bring the ball to ground. Polek has time to assess, and he dropped there by Stevenson in a dangerous position. Bergman heavily met, and Pickett is waiting to pounce, and pounce he did. Wonderful pick-up, snaps towards the top of the goal square to McDonald, and the Roos get back just in time to force it into neutral territory.
They are devastating on turnover, the D's. They are just moving the ball at will. But more than that, Ben, they lock it in there forward 50 when it gets there. The likes of Cozzy Pickett, you are always under pressure.
2 goals straight to nothing in this quarter in favour of Melbourne. They're having a terrific quarter so far as Harms applies the stoppage, or forces the stoppage rather, with that tackle. Young got it to Coleman Jones off the deck. Phillips clears the danger towards the middle of the ground. Big one-on-one here. Zerha's barely seen any of the ball so far, and he's given away a free kick here, Cam Zerha.
Well, he's always going up against at least his direct opponent, if not 2, with the numbers behind the football for the D's. So Tomlinson's sitting 20 metres behind the kick right now, so they have safety behind the footy, good stability.
Big thump away there from Core. It's a big year again for Cam Zerha. Played the 20 games last year. Rookie pick back in 2016. He's got 79 goals to his name, but he is
he's an impact player, though, isn't he?
Very much so.
He's the sort of player you want to get more of the football, but his style of football and also his positioning and role in this forward line means he's not always going to get heaps of the footy.
The D's have got good matchups for him today. Joel Smith's just gone on to him. Hibbard beforehand as well, so they're well positioned to try and thwart his
There's no easy ball.
Bowie off the pack. Shanked it off the boot. Left foot kick so that the Roos can have a good look from their half-back line here, but the D's, they're so disciplined defensively. Jackson and Tomlinson well back. Stephen May organising.
So Larky's going to have to come up and compete. He's the only tall down the line. He's going up against 2 or 3.
They try to pick one off short. It comes off in the end. Lazaro sweeps it over the top towards Taylor. Terrific smother, though, from Smith. And Smith applies the tackle and wins a free for holding the ball. And the D's, again, have lots of options inside 50. And it's hard to ignore Ben Brown, who marks just inside the paint.
He's got the leg from there. We know he's a very straight approach when he kicks those set shots from this distance. Don't be surprised if he just arcs out to his right for a couple of extra metres. What about the system, the defensive system of the D's there? Had great representation long down the line. Larky was the only option, but they also entice the opposition. I think there's a nice short one through the middle. They just pick him off.
So played 130 games with North Melbourne. Ben Brown famously kicking 60-plus goals in 3 consecutive seasons. From 52 metres, he has flushed that.
Look at that.
He's hit that perfectly. Terrific kick from Ben Brown. He's got 2. He's the third demon with multiple goals in this game. And the D's have kicked their third of the quarter. They now lead by 28 points.
Oh, he must be licking his lips after making that change to the D's. There was some conversation around his impact on the game, but at times you are a representation of what happens up the ground. The delivery wasn't always nice to him. Sometimes floaters don't hit their target, Ben. He goes to the D's and he can't help but mark the football because it hits him right on the chest time and time again. That kick inside, just off the line. This is a lovely finish. Didn't arc out as much as I thought he would. Maybe just a step to the side. It's a beautiful finish.
And this time last year, obviously struggling with knee injuries. Him and Sam Wiedemann both struggling this time last year with knee injuries.
Still got that left knee heavily strapped, Ben.
He does, but he seems to be covering the ground really well today for the D's. Coleman Jones and Jackson have a turn in the ruck. Phillips tries to extract it here. He's got Jordan for company. Phillips missed his team at the handball. Harms and Brayshaw combine, and Harms will go onto the left and go short to Chandler. It was clean on the half volley to Petrarca. Pushing the back, advantage is paid to the D's. Jordan inside 50 to McDonald in front. Able to get the ball to the ground there was Core. McDonald, though, follows up at ground level. Normally really good on his left boot. Set a task there for Jordan. Stevenson had to sit there. Brought it to ground. Jordan wins it back, though. Neil Bullen with the check side, and it was worked out. Found Brayshaw, and he's got a good look at the goals, 45-degree angle.
Just too fast, the D's.
And cleaner?
Yeah. That's a really good analysis there, Benny. Particularly at ground level, they are very, very good with their hands, particularly around contested situation. If it is to hit the deck or it's not in the perfect position, they're so quick to get back on and have running support beside them as well.
Played all 25 games in the 2021 Premiership campaign. Angus Brayshaw last year, just the 3 goals, averaged the 18 touches per game on the wing. He's looked pretty good off the boot, but just swung late and missed for the first minor score of the quarter.
There has been some conversation around Brayshaw about how much football he gets. And you look at the other side, you've got Langdon that runs all day, as does Brayshaw. Langdon seems to naturally get more of the football.
Yep.
Now, there is some suggestions about the role that he plays, and they call it the offside wing.
As that kick is just sport there by Turner, but Brayshaw is involved in this chain of handballs. Swings under that left boot with aplomb. McDonald caught behind and stumped over the line.
So the offside wing is very much a structural position. It holds the opposition and forces them to the narrow side, which doesn't allow them to switch the ball as much. Adam Tomlinson played a similar role at the Giants. So his role is so pivotal, but a lot of it is unseen and probably unrewarded externally, but internally loved.
And Ed Langdon, averaged the 4 more possessions per game last year. Here's Brayshaw, who able to gather cleanly at ground level. Rivers got it from Jordan, sends it high to the goal square. McDonald had the ball thumped away there from Core and through for another minor score. So Aiden Core's 195 centimetres, but can often play below his height. Can play on both the smalls and the talls.
Well, just back to Brayshaw, you only kicked the 3 goals that last year. You think about that one going back with the flight of it in a really vulnerable position. Takes that really brave mark and then goes back and finishes his good work.
Zeeble down the guts, hoping for Coleman Jones, who's, again, doing well to bring the ball to ground. And they've done well here through Taylor and Stevenson to find some open space. The kick sets Zurhar a task. He's got Hibbard for company, and he gives the don't argue on Hibbard and did well not to get him high as well. Retreats to Polek, who's going to go on the right boot. On his best effort. Taylor, and going in hard and low there was Zurhar. Great follow-up effort. Unfortunately for him, though, the D's have won the ball back. Rivers to Hibbard to Brayshaw, all via hand. Back to Hibbard. Great rebound and cleanliness from the D's. Petrarca got hands to ball. McDonald ran into Petrarca, but he's still got time to find Jackson over the top. He's got Spargo to his left, Harms to his right. Spargo goes to Harms. That is textbook coast-to-coast play from the D's.
That is devastating ball movement. Electrifying. Harms came from the back flank. He was involved in that initial contest. Petrarca was forward of the football. What I love about that's just in case sort of running. Just in case you need me, Ben, I'll be there running shotgun. And Harms gets rewarded getting the football. There'll be times that he doesn't. That is just a power surge from the half-back flank.
The D's hard running on display there as Harms has already had an opportunity for goal today.
Nice finish.
And that's a lovely finish as well. So they've got their kicking boots on the D's. 8 goals, 3 they move to now. That's 7 goals on the trot. And the Roos still yet to score in this quarter. And I know the scoreboard isn't everything or, at all really in terms of a pre-season match, but it just goes to show how powerful the D's are looking in their first official hit out against a rival side.
Look at Harms coming from the right of screen. Just getting in there now. Charlie Spargo running boundary side for support. Harms coming on the corridor side. That's just weight of numbers. So for the Kangas, there's obviously a lot of learnings out of this. Now, the players you feel probably need to reflect on this post-game. It's really difficult to change it and probably analyse exactly how you're getting scored against right now.
Yep.
But it's those defensive layers. So there's a saying that one gets it done. So one comes forward to defend and tackle. And if you're not in that first layer of attack, you've got to cover off a receiver. At this stage, they're just getting pinballed through. And the overlap handball is costing them.
And their run and gun game has been awesome today. The D's. Greenwood gets the clearance just off the ground, though. Patrick Walker under the pump. There's just no easy Kangaroos possessions at the moment. Horn Francis, great handball, though, to Greenwood. Sent it deep to the goal square. Larkey had good positioning, but still Stephen May good enough to thump it through for a rush behind. That's North Melbourne's first score of the quarter. And May wastes no time as well, finding Rivers, and not in the play, according to the boundary umpire, who had perfect view of that Bowie marking attempt. And Stevenson can look to try and find a North Melbourne teammate inside 50. As you can see, terrific crowd in attendance as well on a Thursday morning.
Excited to see some men's football back.
Yeah. Stevenson. Oh, big fly over the top there from Horn Francis in the end. He's a little slow to get to his feet. In the meantime, Larkey snaps towards goal, and that's deemed to be touched off the boot. And through for another minor score. Horn Francis a little slow to get to his feet. Really hit the deck hard. But he's all good.
He moves a lot like Jack Siebel. Just the style of running, the way that he's a power athlete, gets after the football. Almost in a kamikaze style at times, isn't he? You can already see some signs about why North Melbourne supporters should be really excited with the way that he moves around the ground. Hasn't had a huge impact on the game. That's not what it's about just yet. It's about getting a feel for the speed of it coming up against the best in the competition as well.
Yeah, and it's seriously quick the D's are playing today. Their hands are so slick. Jackson went up hard. There is Zeeble. Able to pick up the crumbs at ground level. Not a great kick. Oliver able to get a boot to ball there. Thomas retreats to Polek, who's got his hands on the ball a bit today. Set Taylor a task, though. Marnie gave it straight to Oliver. And this is where the D's have been so damaging on counter-attack today. Harms to Gawn. They're lining up here. Brayshaw all by himself again at this left half forward flank area. Oh, he just lost his balance there, and Stevenson good enough to keep his feet. And goes with a kick around the body. Patrick Walker is there with Bowie.
That was 10 centimetres too far. Yes. Otherwise, Brayshaw takes an uncontested mark. But once again, you just see the ability in the game awareness as that's turned over on the far side. Oliver, little kick inside, just off the line. Ball gets switched through the middle to Gawn. And Brayshaw playing that offside wing. Yep. Gets an opportunity.
Another clearance for Oliver to pick it to Petrarca to Neil Bullen. Linking up by hand once again. Neil Bullen might go towards goal. It looks good off the boots, and it bounces through. Another long-range goal from the Demons. First from Chandler from the car park. This one from just outside 50 from Alex Neil Bullen, who gets his first of the day. And the D's now have a 40-point lead.
So a general rule for all clubs, you can't allow Christian Petrarca to be free forward of the football. You see the Kangas come up. Once again, all the players coming up to try and impact the play. That allows the D's to get that overlap handball. That's a really good decision by Neil Bullen. Had Ben Brown leading up, had Charlie Spargo in the left pocket, but backed himself in, and rightly so, took responsibility and executed.
So Neil Bullen gets his first for the day. 15 goals last year, played all 25 games in the Melbourne Premiership campaign, finished 8th in the best and fairest as well, which is a really true reflection of how important he was.
That's a really impressive number. I wasn't aware of that. 8th in the best and fairest.
Yeah.
Highlights the role and how important clubs value those style of plays. Everybody needs them.
He's lining up here on Greenwood at the centre bounce. Is Gawn. Oh, beautiful. Down to Petrarca to Oliver. rinse and repeat. Petrarca gets it back. Don't argue there on Thomas. Just missed Salem with a handball, but gets a lucky bounce. Greenwood follows up. Got the heavy hit there, Greenwood, from Salem as he was going past. He's straight back to his feet, though, and will take the free kick. Scott streaming off half back here to Thomas. To Hayden. Trying to pinpoint a pass inside 50, but that's easier said than done against this Demons defence, which is so disciplined and organised. Salem missed the kick, though. And Hayden has marked at 70 metres out from goal.
Kanga's trying to generate some overlap run. Now, the threat of that is you put yourself under more pressure than you were initially.
Coleman Jones attacked the ball hard, but Tomlinson was there to fist it over the line and out of bounds. And with Harry Petty not playing and Jake Lever not playing, Tomlinson has just slotted back into this defensive system with a Plomdale.
You think that he's back in their best 22 when it's all said and done and the whips are cracking? Can play tall and small.
Salem on the right, clears. McDonald got an unkind bounce. Scott was right there with him. Paddles it to Patrick Walker. Back to Scott. Hayden was there, but Petrarca right beside him. No easy handball here, but well done by Hayden to find Thomas, who goes short. It's waiting there to intercept there was Joel Smith, and Langdon again on that outer wing. Trying to create some space and some momentum. Horn Francis, great chase there. Fists the ball away from Rivers. Umpire said he did it legally as well and got it into neutral territory.
And as always, every time we cover a North Melbourne game, we have to speak about their runner, Brent Harvey, who's looking better than he did ever as a player, and that's saying something. If he was in this shape while he was playing, he would have played 500.
And just noticing the runner for Melbourne as well is, of course, former Richmond and Fremantle player Reece Conker, who's correct. Joined Melbourne in an off-field role this year. But yes, Boomer covering the ground with a plom.
You wouldn't have thought that Reece Conker's got a lot of messages to send out just yet. His role is probably the easiest here today.
Yeah,
he'd be just keep doing what you're doing.
Just clock up the Ks on Strava for the day. That's his role. So boundary throw in here with just over 2 minutes remaining in this second quarter. Gone down to Langdon to Pickett. And working out via hand with Harms. Brown on a searching lead.
Beautiful hands out in front. That's a laser.
Ben Brown hoping for McDonald. Just fumbled at the wrong time. It was a pretty slick half-volley pick-up there attempt, but over the line and out of bounds.
What the D's are doing really well, and this will challenge all opposition, is they reset really hard back to goal. So as soon as there's a turnover or Ben Brown marks that football, when they see that they have got the footy, their forwards are racing back, lengthening the ground, giving them representation forward of the football.
Thomas with another clearance. Back to Polek. Just puts it on the left boot and hope than anything else. Rivers read it well and got it out of bounds. And when you reflect on North Melbourne's campaign last year, they were 0-6 after round 6 with a percentage of 46, but still finished 4 wins, 1 draw, 17 losses, and a percentage of 70. A percentage of 70 for an 18th place team is still a very good result considering the amount of losses they racked up. There were so many positive signs in the final 2/3 of last season for North Melbourne, and hopefully they can take that into this year. Scott, Horn Francis, hoping for Zerha. Hibberd tracking him closely. And Zerha is forced into a rush kick and out of bounds in the full, and it's been a tough first half so far for Cam Zerha.
He won't stop trying though, no. Benny.
Definitely not.
He's of the type that it'll just make him more determined. Don't be surprised if he runs through somebody.
That's the thing. We've got Tomlinson coming back into the side. We saw how good and influential and effective Michael Hibberd was in that sort of more lockdown, small defender role during the final series last year. You've got Joel Smith as well, who was a bit unlucky. He had a hamstring injury during the final series. That's why he didn't play in the premiership. They're just blessed with defensive options, the D's. Here is Smith. Can't slip the Stevenson tackle. And the Roos run out of time. That was a really nice bit of play late in that second quarter. But unfortunately, that was a demon demolition in that second term. They kicked 5 goals to zip. That was 5 goals, 2 to 2 behinds. And they take a 40-point lead at halftime, 9-3-57 to North Melbourne, 2-5-17. 2 goals each to McDonald, Chandler and Ben Brown, the only multiple goal kickers on the ground. Just a quick word from you, Dal, before we head to some highlights at half-time. We saw just a glimpse of the D's best in that second quarter, didn't we?
Oh, just the thing of beauty, both with ball in hand, the way that the D's were able to move the ball once again from their D50 all the way through, almost untouched. Their ability to lengthen the ground and really make some tough decisions. Do the Kangas come forward to pressure, or do they retreat back and try and cover the goal line? But also around the contest, they're cleaner. Their bodies are bigger and stronger and therefore able to stand up in those tackles. And from a Kangas perspective, they're still trying. They've just collapsed with their system. They're all coming in to try and impact the play while not covering off their direct opponent. A lot of learnings for the Kangas.
No doubt. We'll see a couple of different players in the second half as well as we rotate through a couple of different players. But that is halftime here at Casey Fields. Great to have you with us on KO Sports. We'll have the second half action in just a few moments with the D's leading 9-3 to North Melbourne 2-5. To kick there, the ruckman switches it out towards a 2-on-1 here. Nice spoil on that occasion from Young, and gets the hand pass to Marnie, who's very clever around goal, and that is no exception. Jack Marnie with a lovely snap. Our first goal of the game goes to the 20-year-old who's there, the ruckman switches it out towards a 2-on-1 here. Nice spoil on that occasion from Young, and gets the hand pass to Marnie, who's very clever around goal, and that is no exception. Jack Marnie with a lovely snap. Our first goal of the game goes to the 20-year-old who's trend of repeat entries for Melbourne. McDonald caught behind, but he's able to raise up and take a strong contested mark, and we'll have Melbourne's first shot on goal. Trend of repeat entries for Melbourne. McDonald caught behind, but he's able to raise up and take a strong contested mark, and we'll have Melbourne's first shot on goal.
For him to get the D's first.
33 goals last year, Tom McDonald. Normally a beautiful kick, and that's no exception. So the D's, after numerous inside 50 opportunities. Walker, but Hayden is put under the hammer by Alex Neal-Bullen, who forces a stoppage. And want to holding the ball on that outer side
depth.
Yep. Nice hands there from the D's. Jackson to Jordan to Pickett, and he's got ample speed. And through the middle of Casey go the D's, and Jordan has Ben Brown working hard. And you'd almost back him from here, Brown, but he sees teammates working hard further field. And James Harms has found...
His kicking improved.
Yes. Oh, big hit there from Salem on goal to Jackson. They're so exciting when they get on the outside. Jackson to Spargo, needs a kind bounce. Might go off the deck himself. Charlie Spargo! A pre-season highlight, if you don't mind, from Charlie to Jackson. They're so exciting when they get on the outside. Jackson to Spargo, needs a kind bounce. Might go off the deck himself. Charlie Spargo! A pre-season highlight, if you don't mind, from Charlie. Jackson down to Oliver, and here they go this time from the centre bounce. The Star accelerates away, hoping for McDonald, and in the end, Brown comes through, and arms fully raised, clunks the contest. Jackson down to Oliver, and here they go this time from the centre bounce. The Star accelerates away, hoping for McDonald, and in the end, Brown comes through, and arms fully raised, clunks the contest. 5 goals last year, 9 times. He kicked 2 goals or more from his 13 games, and perfectly executed. So the D's hit the lead in case. 5 goals last year, 9 times. He kicked 2 goals or more from his 13 games, and perfectly executed. So the D's hit the lead in case.
They were really trying to work out what their best forward line looked like. Were they too tall?
Yep.
But they eventually worked it out with Wiedemann being the one that got squeezed out.
Petrarca, Oliver, Sparrow sees a lot of open space in front of him. The Chandler, who won his left side here, shrugs the tackle, has a good look at the goals, and the D's have 3 on the trot.
I think we saw that towards the end of the third quarter.
Forward once again. Brown, Oliver, can't get around Taron Thomas. He may have got boot to ball there, but umpire says holding the ball nonetheless.
What a brilliant tackle.
Lining up here. We know he can launch a big one. He doesn't go for goal here. He goes towards McDonald, who read that superbly off the boot and now has an easy set shot up here. We know he can launch a big one. He doesn't go for goal here. He goes towards McDonald, who read that superbly off the boot and now has an easy set shot. Great kick from Gawn allows McDonald to kick his second goal, and that's 5 on the trot now for the D's as Tom McDonald puts through Great kick from Gawn allows McDonald to kick his second goal. And that's 5 on the trot now for the D's. As Tom McDonald puts through good as any number one in years that he can remember.
Okay.
And so high expectations.
So he's got a little bit to live up to, the young man.
His Sandful season last year was to die for. Gosh, that is a gutsy kick, a well-executed kick from the D's. It might go all the way for a goal. A long left foot from Chandler has found its way through the middle. Brown didn't even have to touch it.
That's gone 75.
Good as any number one in years that he can remember.
Okay.
And so high expectations.
So he's got a little bit to live up to, the young man.
His Sandful season last year was to die for. Gosh, that is a gutsy kick, a well-executed kick from the D's. It might go all the way for a goal. A long left foot from Chandler has found its way through the middle. Brown didn't even have to touch it.
That's gone 75.
Good as any number one in years that he can remember.
Okay.
And so high expectations.
So he's got a little bit to live up to, the young man.
His Sandful season last year was to die for. Gosh, that is a gutsy kick, a well-executed kick from the D's. It might go all the way for a goal. A long left foot from Chandler has found its way through the middle. Brown didn't even have to touch it.
That's gone 75.
Lazaro sweeps it over the top towards Taylor. Terrific smother, though, from Smith. And Smith applies the tackle and wins a free for holding the ball. And the D's, again, have lots of options inside 50. And it's hard to ignore Ben Brown, who 60-plus goals in 3 consecutive seasons. From 52 metres, he has flushed that. He's hit that perfectly. Terrific kick from Ben Brown. He's got 2. Pass there for Jordan. Stevenson had to sit there, brought it to ground. Jordan wins it back, though. Neil Bullen with the check side, and it was worked out. Found Brayshaw, and he's got a good look at the goal's 45-degree angle. The ball back. Rivers to Hibberd, to Brayshaw, all via hand. Back to Hibberd. Great rebound and cleanliness from the D's. Petrarca got hands to ball. McDonald ran into Petrarca, but he's still got time to find Jackson over the top. He's got Spargo to his left, Harms to his right. Spargo goes to Harms. That is textbook coast-to-coast play from the D's.
That is devastating ball.
The D's hard running on display there as Harms has already had an opportunity for goal today.
Nice finish.
And that's a lovely finish as well. So they've got their kicking boots.
That offside wing.
Yep.
Gets an opportunity.
Another clearance for Oliver to Pickett, to Petrarca, to Neil Bullen. Linking up via hand once again. Neil Bullen might go towards goal. It looks good off the boots, and it bounces through. Another long-range goal from the Demons. First from Chandler from the car park. This one there, the ruckman switches it out towards a 2-on-1 here. Nice spoil on that occasion from Young. And gets the hand pass to Marnie, who's very clever around goal. And that is no exception. Jack Marnie with a lovely snap. Our first goal of the game goes to the 20-year-old who's there, the ruckman switches it out towards a 2-on-1 here. Nice spoil on that occasion from Young. And gets the hand pass to Marnie, who's very clever around goal. And that is no exception. Jack Marnie with a lovely snap. Our first goal of the game goes to the 20-year-old who's trend of repeat entries for Melbourne. McDonald caught behind, but he's able to raise up and take a strong contested mark, and we'll have Melbourne's first shot on goal. Trend of repeat entries for Melbourne. McDonald caught behind, but he's able to raise up and take a strong contested mark, and we'll have Melbourne's first shot on goal.
For him to get the D's first.
33 goals last year, Tom McDonald. Normally a beautiful kick, and that's no exception. So the D's, after numerous inside 50 opportunities. Walker, but Hayden is put under the hammer by Alex Neil Bullen, who forces a stoppage. They want to hold in the ball on that outer side
depth.
Yep. Nice hands there from the D's. Jackson to Jordan to Pickett, and he's got ample speed. And through the middle of Casey go the D's, and Jordan has Ben Brown working hard. And you'd almost back him from here, Brown, but he sees teammates working hard further field. And James Harms has found...
His kicking improves.
Yes. Oh, big hit there from Salem on goal to Jackson. They're so exciting when they get on the outside. Jackson to Spargo, needs a kind bounce. Might go off the deck himself. Charlie Spargo! A pre-season highlight, if you don't mind, from Charlie to Jackson. They're so exciting when they get on the outside. Jackson to Spargo, needs a kind bounce. Might go off the deck himself. Charlie Spargo! A pre-season highlight, if you don't mind, from Charlie's. Jackson down to Oliver, and here they go this time from the centre bounce. The star accelerates away, hoping for McDonald, and in the front, in the end, Brown comes through, and arms fully raised, clunks the contest. Jackson down to Oliver, and here they go this time from the centre bounce. The star accelerates away, hoping for McDonald, and in the front, in the end, Brown comes through, and arms fully raised, clunks the contest. 5 goals last year, 9 times he kicked 2 goals or more from his 13 games, and perfectly executed. So the D's hit the lead in case. 5 goals last year, 9 times he kicked 2 goals or more from his 13 games, and perfectly executed. So the D's hit the lead in case.
They were really trying to work out what their best forward line looked like. Were they too tall?
Yep.
But they eventually worked it out with Wiedemann being the one that got squeezed out.
Petrarca, Oliver, Sparrow sees a lot of open space in front of him. The Chandler, who won his left side here, shrugs the tackle, has a good look at the goals, and the D's have 3 on the trot.
I think we saw that towards the end of the third quarter.
Forward once again. Brown, Oliver, can't get around Taron Thomas. He may have got boot to ball there, but umpire says holding the ball nonetheless.
What a brilliant tackle.
Wanting up here. We know he can launch a big one. He doesn't go for goal here. He goes towards McDonald, who read that superbly off the boot and now has an easy set shot up here. We know he can launch a big one. He doesn't go for goal here. He goes towards McDonald, who read that superbly off the boot and now has an easy set shot. Great kick from Gawn allows McDonald to kick his second goal, and that's 5 on the trot now for the D's as Tom McDonald puts through. Great kick from Gawn allows McDonald to kick his second goal, and that's 5 on the trot now for the D's as Tom McDonald puts through. Good as any number one in years that he can remember.
Okay.
And so high expectations.
So he's got a little bit to live up to, the young man.
His Sandful season last year was to die for. Gosh, that is a gutsy kick, a well-executed kick from the D's. It might go all the way for a goal. A long left foot from Chandler has found its way through the middle. Brown didn't even have to touch it.
That's gone 75.
Good as any number one in years that he can remember.
Okay.
And so high expectations.
So he's got a little bit to live up to, the young man.
His Sandful season last year was to die for. Gosh, that is a gutsy kick, a well-executed kick from the D's. It might go all the way for a goal. A long left foot from Chandler has found its way through the middle. Brown didn't even have to touch it.
That's gone 75.
Good as any number one in years that he can remember.
Okay.
And so high expectations.
So he's got a little bit to live up to, the young man.
His Sandful season last year was to die for. Gosh, that is a gutsy kick, a well-executed kick from the D's. It might go all the way for a goal. A long left foot from Chandler has found its way through the middle. Brown didn't even have to touch it.
That's gone 75.
Lazaro sweeps it over the top towards Taylor. Terrific smother, though, from Smith. And Smith applies the tackle and wins a free for holding the ball. And the D's, again, have lots of options inside 50. And it's hard to ignore Ben Brown, 60-plus goals in 3 consecutive seasons. From 52 metres, he has flushed that. He's hit that perfectly. Terrific kick from Ben Brown. He's got 2. Pass there for Jordan. Stevenson had to sit there, brought it to ground. Jordan wins it back, though. Neil Bullen with the check side, and it was worked out. Found Brayshaw, and he's got a good look at the goal's 45-degree angle. The ball back. Rivers to Hibberd, to Brayshaw, all via hand. Back to Hibberd. Great rebound and cleanliness from the D's. Petrarca got hands to ball. McDonald ran into Petrarca, but he's still got time to find Jackson over the top. He's got Spargo to his left, Harms to his right. Spargo goes to Harms. That is textbook coast-to-coast play from the D's.
That is devastating ball.
The D's hard running on display there as Harms has already had an opportunity for goal today.
Nice finish.
And that's a lovely finish as well. So they've got their kicking boots
that
on.
Offside wing.
Yep.
Gets an opportunity.
Another clearance for Oliver to pick it to Petrarca to Neil Bullen. Linking up via hand once again. Neil Bullen might go towards goal. It looks good off the boots and it bounces through. Another long-range goal from the Demons. First from Chandler from the car park. This one there, the ruckman. Switches it out towards a 2-on-1 here. Nice spoil on that occasion from Young. And gets the hand pass to Marnie, who's very clever around goal. And that is no exception. Jack Marnie with a lovely snap. Our first goal of the game goes to the 20-year-old who's there, the ruckman. Switches it out towards a 2-on-1 here. Nice spoil on that occasion from Young. And gets the hand pass to Marnie, who's very clever around goal. And that is no exception. Jack Marnie with a lovely snap. Our first goal of the game goes to the 20-year-old who's trend of repeat entries for Melbourne. McDonald caught behind, but he's able to raise up and take a strong contested mark, and we'll have Melbourne's first shot on goal. Trend of repeat entries for Melbourne. McDonald caught behind, but he's able to raise up and take a strong contested mark, and we'll have Melbourne's first shot on goal.
For him to get the D's first.
33 goals last year, Tom McDonald. Normally a beautiful kick, and that's no exception. So the D's, after numerous inside 50 opportunities. Walker, but Hayden is put under the hammer by Alex Neal-Bullen, who forces a stoppage. They want to holding the ball on that outer side
depth.
Yep. Nice hands there from the D's. Jackson to Jordan to Pickett, and he's got ample speed. And through the middle of Casey go the D's, and Jordan has Ben Brown working hard. And you'd almost back him from here, Brown, but he sees teammates working hard further field. And James Harms has found...
His kicking improved.
Yes. Oh, big hit there from Salem on goal to Jackson. They're so exciting when they get on the outside. Jackson to Spargo, needs a kind bounce. Might go off the deck himself. Charlie Spargo! A pre-season highlight, if you don't mind, from Charlie to Jackson. They're so exciting when they get on the outside. Jackson to Spargo, needs a kind bounce. Might go off the deck himself. Charlie Spargo! A pre-season highlight, if you don't mind, from Charlie. Jackson down to Oliver, and here they go this time from the centre bounce. The Star accelerates away, hoping for McDonald, and in the front, in the end, Brown comes through, and arms fully raised, clunks the contest. Jackson down to Oliver, and here they go this time from the centre bounce. The Star accelerates away, hoping for McDonald, and in the front, in the end, Brown comes through, and arms fully raised, clunks the contest. 5 goals last year, 9 times he kicked 2 goals or more from his 13 games, and perfectly executed. So the D's hit the lead. Welcome back to Casey Fields. We're about to start the third quarter of this AFL pre-season practice match between Melbourne and North Melbourne, and we've seen a glimpse of the Demons' best. In that first half, they lead the Kangaroos 9-3, 57 to 2-5, 17. Goal kickers, 2 each to Ben Brown, Chandler and McDonald, and a single to Neal-Bullen, Spargo and Harms. And for the Kangaroos, 2 individual goal kickers, 1 to Nick Larkey and 1 to Jack Marnie. Ben Waterworth with you alongside Triple All-Australian St Kilda AFLW coach Nick Del Santo. Del, we've got a lovely day out in Casey, not too much wind out there, and the Demons are putting on a bit of a clinic.
Yeah, they are. That was a really impressive second quarter, and we spoke about from a Kangas perspective, you've got to be able to compete. Now, I don't think they went away from that. I think they were honestly giving their best effort. It's just they lacked that system. They were all coming into the contest, bees to the honeypot, ultimately thinking that they're doing the right thing. As a result, they're actually causing more issues down the ground as the D's. They were so slick by hand, and you mentioned it during the call. They are so clean below their knees. They are picking up the ball and driving with their legs and getting out of that contest. And actually just became like dominoes. They were able to work their way down the ground. Their forwards pose a huge threat. But from a Kangas perspective, it's not all doom and gloom. Like, clearly the scoreboard isn't ideal for where they currently sit here at half-time. Take that out of it. This is a huge learning opportunity. I've just watched the players come to the bench, and they are extended benches today, knowing that it's more about getting the work done, Ben. You know, getting the run in your legs and getting that feeling, that burn in your lungs again about competing at full pace. This is a great learning opportunity. They'll walk away from this. Now, you'd love for them to learn in that first half and implement and change some stuff ultimately in the second half, but if it's not now, it could be on Monday. You know, it could be that opportunity to review and tweak a few things. But from a D's perspective, what more can you ask for? They are just electrifying, particularly on turnover, going coast to coast multiple times.
And they start the third quarter as well with Gawn, Petrarca, Oliver and Pickett in the centre bounce. So,
which matchup would you like?
Yeah, I don't know. Pickett going one-on-one, though, with Horn Francis. That's exciting. But Taron Thomas trying to get the first clearance of the half. Pickett went in again, but well played by Coleman Jones to get it to Horn Francis. And Greenwood sends it inside 50, but well read by the D's. Hibbert able to intercept and go back in towards the middle of Casey. That is Petrarca marking and finding Sparrow, who's had a lot of time on the ball so far today, Tom Sparrow. And the D's through Spargo, who kicked a terrific goal in that second quarter onslaught. The D's using some patient build-up here. Petrarca pulls the trigger with a long, high kick, and McDonald will fly from behind, but Ben Brown was in front, and that long reach on display again can go back and look to put through his third goal.
I really like that by the D. So they just crib their way up the far side. They just take that 15-metre option, just get themselves into a position to launch a little bit deeper. If they had kicked it from that initial possession, it's probably going to land about on the 50-metre arc, and it's a really dangerous position to try and defend if you turn the football over. Take that additional 15. Petrarca then goes long and allows the key forwards in Ben Brown to launch at the football. And here's this run up again.
Touches the sight screen and
he does.
Works his way into the arc, hoping for goal number 3. He's been kicking the ball superbly so far today. It doesn't look great off the boot that time. Might still be in play. In the end, Josh Walker happy to thump it through and over the line for a boundary throw-in.
That was a change of style from Ben Brown. That wasn't his usual walk straight kick through. Had a little bit of flicker in the air with the legs.
If you're going to experiment, this is the time to do it, I suppose, isn't it?
I reckon he needs to experiment. Is he at that stage in his career? I reckon what he's been doing, he's been okay.
It's a very good point, Nicholas. Brayshaw goes off the deck. You're kidding me. Almost out of mid-air. Looked all right off the boot. Brown trying to crumb, but in the end, Kane Turner was there to save the day for the Roos. To Zeeble, to Young, wasn't the 15. Forced into a rush kick. Marnie kept his feet, but then was immediately wrapped up. But Core provided some great overlap run there and kicked up towards half-forward, but the D's so well set up. Tomlinson, Oliver, Salem just gets boot to ball, and May can reassess for the D's.
Just so well set up behind the football. The threat is minimal. They have layers of defence behind the footy.
Goes towards Mackay and Brown. Josh Walker arrived and thumped it away. Rivers paddled it towards the advantage here of Chandler, who lost control but was out of bounds. In fact, it's a free kick going the way of North Melbourne.
Looks like it's Marnie on the far side.
Is.
So I just wanted to try something different for North Melbourne. It's not about necessarily getting back into the game and winning it today, but just to trial holding a really strong forward structure, whether it be that 6-on-6, because still, once again, there's 2 extra Ds behind the football that are just holding their defensive depth.
So I haven't seen too many fresh faces out there. Just on the... For the Demons, we're just looking in front of the bench here, and Sam Wiedemann and Toby Bedford. For having a bit of a look at in the fourth quarter. Saw yesterday at the Essendon Bulldogs game in particular that some players only played 1 quarter in the end, and that proved beneficial for both Tex Wanganeen and Nick Martin, who got list spots for the Bombers. Filling up those last 2 list spots as Pickett explodes, and with a left foot, pinpoint precision to Ben Brown.
Can't help but mark it, Ben Brown, because he picked it on the non-preferred. Just a thing of beauty, isn't it, the D's? So I just wonder, you speak about what is the perfect preparation? And I know the last couple of years have been really disjointed, and we have to be agile and flexible in everything that we do, knowing that most clubs will have a normal preparation, given that it is only today's practice match and then the pre-season competition next week. What is the ideal time that some of these A-graders are going to play today? Does Petrarca need to play a whole game?
Yep.
Oliver, Max Gorn's still out there. I just wouldn't be surprised if they came off. Maybe you'll get them the 3 quarters, then play them, full dress rehearsal next week, have the weekend off as they do before round 1, and then just launch.
The D seem like they've been seriously in full dress rehearsal for, particularly the last couple of quarters.
Yep.
They've been very slick. Salem switches. Hibbard goes through the middle of Casey Fields and goes inside 50, hoping for Gawn or Ben Brown again, who's really gaining some confidence and plucking them from everywhere.
Well, he's up against young Bailey Scott there, so he had his work cut out for him, so Ben Brown should mark that.
That's the thing. He's always been such a great mark on the lead, Ben Brown. But if he can get this contested mark game going, which he saw glimpses of during his time at North Melbourne, he's going to be a force to reckon with.
Well, you think about him on the lead, you think about the contested marking. Now, the one area he's not brilliant at, and not everybody's perfect at everything, is probably the ground level stuff.
Yep.
But when you've got the likes of this small forward line as well for the Ds, if he can do those first 2 out of those 3, he's a hell of a player.
Third set shot of this third quarter coming up for Ben Brown. Probably the easiest look he'll have, though, from almost directly in front. And he makes no mistake. Nicely done from Ben Brown. He kicks his third goal of the game, and that is 9 straight goals for the Ds since the first quarter. Melbourne 10-3 leading North Melbourne 2-5. That lead balloons out to 46 points.
And it comes from that turnover across the half-back line. I'm actually loving the game of Brayshaw. I'm keeping a really close eye on him about holding his width. So Hibbert had the ball from the switch kick coming back through the middle. Brayshaw was on the near side as an option. Now, if Hibbert doesn't want to take it and goes forward, that's his right. But without the Brayshaw width in the onto the wing, that option's not there for Hibbert as he goes forward. So have a look at Bailey Scott. He's 186 centimetres. Yeah. So he was always up against, so that's a dreadful mismatch. A little bit unorganised behind the football, but Ben Brown having a lovely day.
Good to see Angus Brayshaw also having a great day. Recovered well from that well-earned cigar after the grand final premiership last year. As
I've been watching a little bit of American sport. It's a tradition. Haven't seen it a great deal in our country, but you can do whatever you want, I guess, when you win a flag.
Gawn sends it long and deep. Phillips waiting the pounce. Heavy tackle from Harms. And he wins a holding the ball free kick. You could hear the slap on the arm as Harms laid that tackle on Phillips. And he can have a set shot.
Well, he's a good kick of the football. I just wonder whether there's starting to be a slight breeze to the left of screen. So going in favour of North Melbourne, just by the reaction, this might give us a good look to see if that breeze has just picked up a tiny bit. 26 years of age, James Harms, still plenty of great footy left in him. Gives it a good ride. No issue at all.
Lovely straight kick from Harms, who becomes yet another multiple goal kicker in this game. He's got 2, and he becomes the 4th multiple goal kicker for the Demons, who continue to pile on the points. They lead by 52.
And what's really pleasing with Harms and his growth, he was a tagger a handful of years ago, or that negating midfielder. He's then become that half-forward, impactful player as well. And we saw that work that he did in that second quarter, I believe it was, the work rate from the half-back flank to the forward pocket to kick a goal. But he's also prepared to do it at ground level. Get after the opposition. Young Phillips probably caught by surprise at the speed of Harms closing him down. And once again, another lovely finish. 11 goals, 3 is beautiful kicking for your first outing.
So that is 7 goals, 2 since half-time. Sorry, since quarter-time for the Demons, and the Kangaroos still haven't kicked a goal since the first quarter. Goldstein won that one. Petrarca burst his way through, but again Thomas is waiting there. He's found a fair bit of the ball today around the clinches for North Melbourne. But no clean entry here inside their forward half, as Smith's happy to see it over the line.
So Mackay's gone to Ben Brown as he makes his way up the ground. So he's the deepest forward.
Yeah.
He's coming up to roughly the centre circle on the far side. So they hold a really strong forward structure, the Ds. They've got 5 in front of the football.
Gawn applies the big tackle there on Young. Really made him earn that.
And on the flip side, Coleman Jones coming out of the goal square with Larkey.
Yep.
And Stevenson in the pocket. So they've just got the 3 in the forward line.
Neil Bullen couldn't quite pick it up cleanly, but Harms was there to pounce with Petrarca and Oliver. Dynamic duo. Dangerous kick from Oliver into the middle, and Lazaro was there waiting to mark. Thomas receives. Powell, handballs behind there. It just didn't have the forward run there. The pressure was great from the Ds as well. And now they are off.
Here's the turnover.
Hibbard, Salem, lots of open space for him to work with. Jackson leading hard inside 50. Good spoil from Josh Walker. Brings the ball to ground and wins it back. Well played by the veteran Kangaroo. Working in tandem there with Hayden. Scott's kick was smothered though by Langdon. He keeps it inside the forward arc. Hibbard goes back to McDonald. Off one step, beautiful pass to Petrarca, dropped the mark.
Oh.
And kicking in danger, wasn't
Kicking
it?
in
Yes.
danger. You don't see that very often at this
In that
level of
particular
football.
situation where it was almost off the bounce, but Petrarca will have a shot for goal. Let's have a look on replay. Maybe a bit stiff there, Jack Siebel.
Yeah, 50-50.
Yeah. Nonetheless, Petrarca will have a shot for goal, and in amongst his terrific season last year, the fact that he was able to kick 29 goals was absolutely fantastic, and 7 goals across the 3 finals that Demons played. Just showing why he's a genuine now superstar of this competition. And still just 26 years of age. So we have about 40 metres to cover here. Christian Petrarca, well off to the right, and doesn't even score.
When you think about this, the scary thing of Christian Petrarca and off the back of his last 2 years, but particularly last year, his best football is probably in front of him. The next 2 to 3 years is his hitting zone from a physical perspective. Most AFL players are around their peak, around the 27, 28 number. To think that he could be at this level for another 2 or 3 years is very scary. Here he goes. There he goes. Oh, he's hit the post. On cue.
Petrarca with a behind. The Demons, their lead now really building. 53-point differential between these two sides. No easy kicks or disposals at all for North Melbourne, as pushing the back there for Hayden, and the Roos take the advantage through Bailey Scott and burst from half back towards the number 44, Smith and Zurha. Great tackle from Zurha, who's had a tough day today. No free kick for Zurha for holding the ball. There was a tackle that lingered from the Roos just afterwards, and they'll take the advantage now, Melbourne, as Langdon goes towards McDonald, has 2 Kangaroos to beat, and he kept his feet and beat them all. Jackson, Oliver, lining up. Pickett zigzags his way through on the left towards Chandler. Goldstein there to thump it through for a minor score.
Just keeping an eye on Jaden Stevenson. It was him that went down behind play in the hands of the trainers. He is back to his feet and slowly moving back to position, or is he coming from the ground? Hopefully it's just winded in that tackle in the forward pocket for the Kangas. There
he is on screen, just being attended to by a couple of trainers. Seems to be moving okay. In the meantime, Zeeble goes towards the middle of the ground. There's Paul Curtis, the draftee from last year, having a touch of the ball. Zeeble able to intercept after Thomas got hands to the footy. Pig hit there by the D's. Spargo wrapped up in a tackle. That's Miller Bergman applying the tackle there. Thomas extracts it again. He's one of North Melbourne's best today. Tomlinson easily edged Coleman Jones underneath the ball. They're just lining up, ready for the switch either side, really. It's Langdon who marks on the edge of the centre square.
It's just so fast to go from offence to defence and have structure behind the football. That stability gives those midfielders in particular the confidence to come forward and put extra pressure on the Kangas. And you could just see that last passage of play, just the quick handballs. Not perceived pressure, it was real pressure. They had to get rid of the footy.
So Langdon with a couple of possessions in that chain. Now Bowie pulls the trigger on a long kick towards half forward. McDonald and Gawn. McDonald got hands to the ball. Horne-Francis was caught holding the ball. He's a little flabbergasted by the call. But the D's will have a free kick here. And McDonald, with a little bit of a breeze potentially now at his back, might fancy himself. Kicked 2 goals already in this game. Ben Brown has 3. He's a lovely low kick of the ball, Tom McDonald. Let's see what he can do with this opportunity. He keeps it low, but puts it to a hot spot. And Bailey Scott had a good enough time on his hands on the ball there. He's paid the mark.
Just watching Sam Wiedemann. He's still in the warm-up gear in the back seat of the bench. See if he gets an opportunity possibly in this last quarter and they change up that forward structure.
Horne-Francis with some speed and acceleration. Clean pickup and a high kick towards Larkey. One-on-one with Smith, and Larkey can't mark. Goes out of bounds in the end, but that was just a glimpse of Jason Horne-Francis on display there, that clean pickup and acceleration.
Well, that's the comparison that we've heard in the last year or two about the Dangerfield, the ability to get it off the deck at pace. Doesn't change the stride and then just puts it out into space for a forward.
Coleman Jones edged out of the ruck contest. Lazaro Goes back to Patrick Walker. Snaps around the body. Larkey in front. Tries to keep it alive and can't. Come through for a minor score. North Melbourne have had just 4 behinds. In fact, just 3 behinds since quarter time.
Well, those 2 goals they got early in that first quarter as well, Benny.
Yep.
So it has been extremely tough going.
And 10 on the trot for the D's. Langdon starting to rack up a fair bit of the footy on that outer side, as is Bowie. 7 AFL games and a flag to his name. Gawn and McDonald in front. Max Gawn. That's almost near impossible to defend that. And they waste no time in the D's, but that kick was smothered off the boot. Now the Roos can sniff a chance off turnover. Lazaro checks the kick, but just had a bit too much juice on it. Marnie going back with Tomlinson. Tomlinson moving really well across the ground. Kick just a little off target, but Jordan keeps it alive. Young smothers it over the boundary line for a throw-in.
It does always worry me, though, for a first game back. Tomlinson going and then changing direction extremely quickly on a sharp angle. Just those little steps. Make sure that knee's fully recovered.
Just see
Did it well, though.
Callum Coleman-Jones is limping to the boundary line as well. He'll get some attention. We'll keep our eyes on.
Appears to be left knee from this advantage point, Ben.
We'll keep our eyes on that as Oliver extracts now to Rivers, who gave it straight to Powell. A rare turnover, and Powell pounces. A goal against the flow. That breaks a 10-goal streak from the D's, and Powell gets North Melbourne's first since the first quarter, and the pick 13 from the 2020 draft. He played 13 games last year. Certainly a player that Roos fans are very excited about.
Absolutely, and that's a lovely finish. I think you get a glimpse. Have a look at this on the replay. 1, 2, 3. Get your body organised. Line up towards your target. It's a lovely finish, and one of the rare mistakes from the D's. That's good. It's just every now and then, but you just want a little bit of reward for effort, and clearly they're not getting the reward in regards to the scoreboard pressure. They are getting little wins by getting some young players opportunities. We just spoke about Horn Francis, but you speak about Powell and the opportunity that he'll have. He'll be given every opportunity to get games this year, you'd like to think. He'll get exposed at times because he's young and it's all part of the learning. But just little moments like that would warm the hearts of North Melbourne supporters. Say, okay, I see why everyone's speaking so highly about this young man, as he's at this centre square bounce. So
Goldstein doing the ruck work because Callum Coleman-Jones has gone up the race for the Kangaroos. We'll keep our eyes on him and bring you any news that we have. As the Roos again through Lazaro, just starting to get involved a little bit more in the game, Lazaro, but turned it over. May to Oliver to Salem. Great tackle, Horn Francis. Forces the turnover, and his fellow draftee in Curtis with a left foot kick towards the goal square. Marnie off the deck, kicks the goal. And just like that, the Roos have 2 in a minute. And Jack Marnie has 2 goals for the game, and that was some of their young guns getting involved there, North Melbourne, with Lazaro and Curtis and Horn Francis, and then ultimately Jack Marnie.
Well, they've all gone to Horn Francis to say well done on that fantastic tackle. The aggression and the power and the ability to stick that with a strong player coming the opposite ways. We have a close look at this on the replay. So here comes out Oliver, trying to create that overlap handball through Salem. It's a great chase.
It's an 18-year-old tackling a 26-year-old there.
Yeah. But that 18-year-old's rare.
Yeah.
We've got to put that not all 18-year-olds are able to do those sort of tackles halfway through the third quarter. And once again, nice reward for effort. Marnie getting in front of the footy and finishing off the work up the field. 2
majors now for Jack Marnie, and the Demons now holding a 41-point advantage. We've got just over 10 minutes remaining in this quarter. Goldstein and Jackson to do battle. Greenwood in this centre bounce, man up on Harms. Push out is called. Will be going the way of Jackson from the ruck contest.
That was just the threat of Jackson jumping straight over the top of Goldie. A little nudge.
Jackson towards half forward. Brayshaw almost wasn't expecting it there with Patrick Walker. Brayshaw able to get his hands on the ball though. Feeds it to Rivers. Kick inside 50. Fumbled. Allowed Neil Bullen to pounce, and he's one player you don't want to give an opportunity to. Luckily though, the Kangaroos had a saviour right on the last line of defence, and it was Josh Walker who forces a rush behind.
And plays on quickly.
Goldstein. Stevenson. Work it out in the end across their defensive 50.
Good to see him back. So he was just winded from that contest earlier this quarter. Just wonder where Jaden Stevenson has the most impact for the Kangas. We've seen him have a handful of games through the midfield where he gets a lot of the football. We've also seen him be damaging forward of the football as that crafty player inside forward 50.
If he can put his pace to good use as well, that wing position, he can be a real handful for opposition sides, can't
Absolutely. he? Absolutely. A lot of the onus is on him to do the work, to put himself in those positions to get more of the football.
What a kick from Pickett. Oh, Harm's got a bad bounce in the end. It was well set up, though, by Pickett. Sparrow applies the tackle, able to get hands free the Roos in the end. Josh Walker puts it towards Turner's advantage. Turner handballed it along the turf. That is deemed okay in the end, so it'll be tossed back in on the edge of 50 with the D's holding a 42-point advantage. You're right there, Dale. You've had a shocking day with your pen, it looks like.
I love 4 pens.
Yep.
I only use 4 pens, and my favourite colour, blue, has just leaked all over me. I look like a squid. I've inked all over my pad, which has really frustrated me.
All thoughts and prayers to Nick Del Santo here in the commentary box as Sparrow goes towards the Truson half-forward area. Pickett almost picked it up cleanly off the ground. Horn Francis starting to get his hands on the ball a little bit more. That kick just held up in the breeze ever so slightly. Real tough task for Patrick Walker, especially when Brayshaw was coming the opposite way.
Well, he's in two minds, Horn Francis, and clearly not the ideal kick or execution. But the alternative option was to go long and wide to Zerha, who was up against May and a spare defender. So that's why he tried to create something across goal. Another opportunity to learn. Work through it, a little bit of problem solving as well. That didn't work, okay? If I'm in that situation again, what do? I'll take yardage. We'll get it as far away from our goal line as we can make it.
Really good look on our Kayo Sports cameras here at Angus Brayshaw's set shot. And he's done it superbly. Great kick, Brayshaw. He's got his first. The D's get one back after 2 consecutive North Melbourne goals. And Angus Brayshaw, you mentioned his role last year. He might not get as much of the ball, only kicked the 3 goals as well, but it's all I've heard you talking about today is how important his role is in the structure. And you watch a Melbourne game, you see Langdon own a wing and you see Brayshaw own the other wing, and it just works.
Well, we just saw it just then. So he was covering the exit. So his role in that passage of play was not allow the Kangas to have easy ball to the near side, which would have been the open side. That's where the Kangas ultimately want to go to move the ball smoothly or almost uncontested from one end of the ground to the other. So he teases the opposition to think you can have that kick, knowing full well he can come forward and close it. And that's why I'm a fan of his. You know, every club has that style of player. And we look at his numbers sometimes, and I'm as guilty as anybody. Go, geez, Brayshaw's only walked off with 10 or 15 touches, and he's played on the wing the whole day.
Yeah,
that's why.
Yeah,
he does things so the others, particularly inside, can go to work and get a lot of the football.
Phillips able to get the clearance here to Horn Francis. Future of North Melbourne on display there. Taylor towards Curtis. Clean gather there from the draftee. Back to Horn Francis. Another high kick from the number 1 pick. And easy pickings there for the D's to thump it over the line and out of bounds. But good to see Horn Francis just lift his output a little bit more in this third quarter. Sort of when he arrived at the club, everyone thought he was just a round 1 shoe-in. Certainly has the body for it, but he's wanting to have a good hit out here.
And it appears Max Gawn is done for the day. He just casually walks past us and into the rooms. Rest easy, Melbourne supporters. It's by his own choice. He's just had enough for the day. He's done the work.
Horn Francis taken high. So we'll have a look at him at a set shot opportunity here. Jason Horn Francis taken way too high in the tackle. Now the 18-year-old who was such a star with South Adelaide last year on really sort of a changing of the narrative when he had 3 goals in that preliminary final for South Adelaide.
That was the moment, wasn't it?
It was.
That was the talk in the AFL world that this guy's number 1, and off the back of playing against men and kicking those 3 goals, he's good enough at this level. What's
he got in a set shot from a really tough angle? He'll go across goal, big fly over the top from the Roos, and Zerha couldn't get hands to it. And it's through for North Melbourne, 7th behind of the day.
When you think about the amount of work, Gavin Brown, the head of development at North Melbourne, Tom Lynch has just joined that crew. Yes. I reckon there's a couple of others. Tom Lynch from Adelaide and St Kilda. So they've got a huge responsibility, that group of men in that development program, to help, support, nurture this large crop of youngsters making their way in their AFL career.
Petrarca took the mark from the kick in, found Jordan. Now Langdon back to Petrarca. The power running on display there. Josh Walker, though, easily able to thump it away there from Neil Bullen. It's becoming a bit of a trend as well, because Tom Lynch is likely going to play a little bit of footy as well, at, particularly at VFL level.
He needs to get a game first, Ben.
Yes.
Tom Lynch needs to earn his stripes if he's going to play VFL. He's no shoe-in.
Right. But like Tyson Goldsake did that at Port Adelaide as well. Seeing a few. Neville Jedd's going to do something similar at Collingwood this year, play some VFL footy straight out of AFL footy while being a development coach. Horn Francis with the free kick here.
I think that's a really good way to balance it as well. And without knowing for a fact, there's a little bit of a soft cap conversation, I think, in there some way. How do you manage money knowing that it's been a really tough couple of years and the spends at clubs aren't what they once were? So how do you still get really good people, educated people, really good with the young emerging players within your football club? How do you get them involved? And how do you get them to have an impact and support other guys?
Nick Larkey able to get his hands on the ball there. Larkey and Zerha have had very little room to move, or very little easy ball for them today. Thomas presents just outside the 50-metre arc. There are so many red and blue jumpers back, though, so good luck finding a target. But Zerha did his best to provide one. Curtis's kick was smothered. Neil Bullen picks up the crumbs, exits from defensive 50, and Tom McDonald got a cruel bounce, allowed Taylor to have another opportunity, and Curtis marks and wheels onto the left. Inside 50, Larkey in front, but it went behind him, and Joel Smith able to intercept last line of defence with 3.5 minutes on the clock.
Well, that was good by Smith. It was him that got crunched by Zerha in that previous inside 50. He was down for a moment, looked to touch Proppy with a league concern, gets back to his feet, takes proactive position, and then gets that intercept mark.
The D's holding a 47-point advantage. Brown and Jackson. Jackson up high. Down there is Sparrow. Arms able to spin easily out of the Phillips attempted tackle. And Petrarca almost set his teammate off there, but intercepted. There's Josh Goda, the number 31 for North Melbourne. The second-round draft pick from last year, having his first disposal. Ruse able to switch here through Core. Taylor checks the kick and well weighted as well. But Core got a bad bounce, and Langdon has got so much leg speed and cleanliness below his knees. And the D's here are off. Bowie over the top to Neil Bullen, shanks the kick. That's an opportunity gone begging. But how about that individual piece of brilliance from Langdon?
He's a superb player. Think about the way his game's grown. He was a really good, solid player at Fremantle a couple of years ago, and the way that he's fitted into this system. It's more than just playing your role as a winger. He controls an edge. His running power and his overlap run is as good as anybody in the competition. His skills have improved, particularly by foot.
That's been exemplified by the fact that he's finished 6th in the best and fairest last year and 4th in the best and fairest in his first year with Melbourne. So he's a very highly valued member of this Demons outfit. Spoiled there by the D's. Salem and Smith, two Beach Blonders working there. Tandem as Zeeble comes across and intercepts.
And then you think about the changes that Melbourne have made over the last couple of years and those targeting specific players. Adam Tomlinson comes in, and yes, he can play wing now. He's found that roll across the half-back line. They obviously a few years ago went out and got 2 key defenders, which was questioned at the time.
There's Goda. Look inside 50. Thomas came out and he was heavily spoiled from behind there by May. Brayshaw. Hibbert will on his left side. Back to Smith, who sends it high and hoping for someone to fly, and the only one who did fly in the end was Jordan. With just over a minute remaining in this quarter.
And you complement those inclusions with the natural development, the growth of particularly those inside midfielders, Oliver, Petrarca, Brayshaw. Max Gorling's been there for a long time, and as a collective, it's all just come together. McDonald
wasn't paid the mark in the end. Gorn back on the field, goes towards half forward, but Zeeble again in the right place at the right time. He's positioned himself well today, Jack Zeeble. That kick was very, very risky, and it's gone straight down the throat of Bowie. So they've got 40 seconds here, the D's, to have an impact on the scoreboard. Langdon gives them an inside 50. Petrarca v Zeeble, and Zeeble went for the ball with aggression there and thumped it over the line. If he missed it, that was going straight down the throat of Petrarca.
Just watch Salem. So Max Gawn has come back onto the ground, so it might have just been a little pit stop.
Yep.
He's back out there. Salem has just walked into the rooms as well. So we'll just wait to see if he's had enough. 3 quarters done.
I reckon we might see a few changes and a few players putting in cotton wool at 3-quarter time. Risky handballs here from the Roos. Petrarca is lurking, and then in the end, Lazaro happy to rush it through for a minor score just before the 3-quarter time siren.
We might get an opportunity to see the pecking order at Melbourne about those that get to have the last quarter off. Who do they value the most, Benny? Everybody is equal, but not everybody is treated the same.
Yeah, we'll give you a full update on who's going to have the foot massages at 3-quarter time and in that 4th quarter. But as we turn for home, the D's well positioned. They've had a terrific game so far. 12-7-79, the reigning premiers, leading North Melbourne 4-7-31. Great to have you with us wherever you're watching around the country on KO Sports. As we continue our coverage of the AFL pre-season practice matches, we'll take a short break and have Nick Del Santo analysis and 4th quarter action coming up in just a few moments. Goes through the middle of Casey Fields and goes inside 50, hoping for Gawn or Ben Brown again, who's really gaining some confidence and plucking them from everywhere. Goes through the middle of Casey Fields and goes inside 50, hoping for Gawn or Ben Brown again, who's really gaining some confidence and plucking them from everywhere. Shot of this 3rd quarter coming up for Ben Brown. Probably the easiest look he'll have, though, from almost directly in front. And he makes no mistake. Nicely done from Ben Brown. He kicks his 3rd goal. Shot of this 3rd quarter coming up for Ben Brown. Probably the easiest look he'll have, though, from almost directly in front. And he makes no mistake. Nicely done from Ben Brown. He kicks his 3rd goal. Long and deep. Phillips waiting the pounce. Heavy tackle from Harms. Long and deep. Phillips waiting the pounce. Heavy tackle from Harms. James Harms, still plenty of great footy left in him. Gives it a good ride.
No issue at all.
Lovely straight kick from Harms, who becomes yet another multiple goal kicker in this game. He's got 2. James Harms, still plenty of great footy left in him. Gives it a good ride.
No issue at all.
Lovely straight kick from Harms, who becomes yet another multiple goal kicker in this game. He's got 2. And we'll keep our eyes on that as Oliver extracts now to Rivers, who gave it straight to Powell. A rare turnover, and Powell pounces. A goal against the flow. And we'll keep our eyes on that as Oliver extracts now to Rivers, who gave it straight to Powell. A rare turnover, and Powell pounces. A goal against the flow as the Roos again through Lazaro. Just starting to get involved a little bit more in the game, Lazaro, but turned it over. May to Oliver to Salem. Great tackle, Horn Francis. Forces the turnover, and his fellow draftee in Curtis with a left foot kick towards the goal square. Marnie off the deck, kicks the goal. And just like that, the Roos have 2 in a minute. And Jack Marnie has 2 goals for the game, and that was some of their young guns. As the Roos again through Lazaro. Just starting to get involved a little bit more in the game, Lazaro, but turned it over. May to Oliver to Salem. Great tackle, Horn Francis. Forces the turnover, and his fellow draftee in Curtis with a left foot kick towards the goal square. Marnie off the deck, kicks the goal. And just like that, the Roos have 2 in a minute. And Jack Marnie has 2 goals for the game, and that was some of their young guns. Feeds it to Rivers, kick inside 50, fumbled, allowed Neil Bullen to pounce, and he's one player you don't want to give an opportunity to. Almost picked it up cleanly off the ground. Horn Francis starting to get his hands on the ball a little bit more. That kick just held up in the breeze ever so slightly. Angus Brayshaw's set shot, and he's done it superbly. Great kick, Brayshaw. He's got his first. The D's get one back after 2 consecutive. Goes through the middle of Casey Fields and goes inside 50, hoping for Gawn or Ben Brown again, who's really gaining some confidence and plucking them from everywhere. Goes through the middle of Casey Fields and goes inside 50, hoping for Gawn or Ben Brown again, who's really gaining some confidence and plucking them from everywhere. Shot of this 3rd quarter coming up for Ben Brown. Probably the easiest look he'll have, though, from almost directly in front. And he makes no mistake. Nicely done from Ben Brown. He kicks his 3rd goal. Shot of this 3rd quarter coming up for Ben Brown. Probably the easiest look he'll have, though, from almost directly in front. And he makes no mistake. Nicely done from Ben Brown. He kicks his third goal. Long and deep. Phillips waiting the pounce. Heavy tackle from Harms. Long and deep. Phillips waiting the pounce. Heavy tackle from Harms. James Harms, still plenty of great footy left in him. Gives it a good ride.
No issue at all.
Lovely straight kick from Harms, who becomes yet another multiple goal kicker in this game. He's got 2. James Harms, still plenty of great footy left in him. Gives it a good ride.
No issue at all.
Lovely straight kick from Harms, who becomes yet another multiple goal kicker in this game. He's got 2. And we'll keep our eyes on that as Oliver extracts now to Rivers, who gave it straight to Powell. A rare turnover, and Powell pounces. A goal against the flow. And we'll keep our eyes on that as Oliver extracts now to Rivers, who gave it straight to Powell. A rare turnover, and Powell pounces. A goal against the flow as the ruse again through Lazaro. Just starting to get involved a little bit more in the game, Lazaro, but turned it over. May to Oliver to Salem. Great tackle, Horn Francis. Forces the turnover, and his fellow draftee in Curtis with a left foot kick towards the goal square. Marnie off the deck, kicks the goal. And just like that, the Roos have 2 in a minute. And Jack Marnie has 2 goals for the game, and that was some of their young guns. As the ruse again through Lazaro. Just starting to get involved a little bit more in the game, Lazaro, but turned it over. May to Oliver to Salem. Great tackle, Horn Francis. Forces the turnover, and his fellow draftee in Curtis with a left foot kick towards the goal square. Marnie off the deck, kicks the goal. And just like that, the fourth quarter almost underway here at Casey Fields. This AFL pre-season practice match with the Demons leading 12-7-79 to North Melbourne 4-7-31. Ben Waterworth with you alongside Triple All-Australian Vic Dal Santo. Just probably the most newsy part of today so far is it looks like Callum Coleman-Jones, well, he's definitely done for the day. He went off Dal in that third quarter with a knee injury. It looked like he had ice on that knee, so obviously the Roos taking no chances.
Yeah, a medial concern it would be, so the inside of the left knee, it appeared. Now, he did come from the game by himself, so it wasn't, an initial concern like he wasn't able to get off the ground, but at this time of year, clearly you don't take any risks. Jack Zeebel's come to the bench. Todd Goldstein's on the bench.
And Jacob Edwards is at the centre bounce, the mid-season number 1 pick from last year, and he wins his first hit out down to Hugh Greenwood. Roos fans like that one. A bit of a round of applause from Jacob Edwards, but Joel Smith immediately rebounds and sends it towards half forward. Jackson dropped it. The D's have numbers inside their forward 50. They can get their hands on the ball here, but they can't. It's Scott finding Patrick Walker. Spargo applying the tackle. Goda goes back to Patrick Walker, then Josh Walker with a kick towards half forward, but Pickett. How about that for a contested grab against Bailey Scott?
What about the way he twisted his body in air to protect the drop of the ball, knowing that Scott was coming the opposite way?
Then Josh Walker, outstanding grab from
Hard
Pickett.
to teach that.
And Gawn is in the pocket and almost uncontested, able to take the mark. Lovely lead up from Max Gawn. And the skipper, who proved in the preliminary final last year, he can genuinely kick him from anywhere on the ground at any time, in any way, can have a shot from a tight position, but the right side for a right footer.
Is that one of the best finals performances you've ever seen last year, Max Gawn?
Yeah,
easily.
Yeah, certainly by a ruckman.
Oh, easily by a ruckman.
Absolutely bonkers performance that was by Gawn. 40 metres out, keeps it simple and keeps it straight.
That's showing P sort of stuff for the big fella.
Kicking him like a key forward that's been doing it his whole career. Max Gawn, a couple of casual high fives as he puts through his first goal of the day, and Melbourne's 13th as they extend their lead back out to 54 points. And Max Gawn just continuing to do it. He doesn't look like he's signs of slowing down anytime soon.
No, and nor should he. And that was a very simplistic way to start this last quarter. A brilliant mark on the near side by Cozzy Pickett, and then just puts it out in front of the big fella. So young Jacob Edwards, the mid-season pick from last year, is going to have his work cut out. But once again, a great learning opportunity. Max Gawn took him forward, put him in the position to have to launch at the football, and it ultimately was an uncontested mark. So Edwards is 200 centimetres.
Yep.
Max is clearly more than that.
He's got a good leap on him, though, Jacob Edwards, as we saw. He crashes into Gawn there, but Gawn Intelligently down to Petrarca, who torps it inside 50. Josh Walker dropped the intercept mark. Pickett, what a clever tap. Beautifully done to Spargo. That was smothered off the boot, though. The game sense of Pickett really on song there, and the D's still have a scoring opportunity. Pickett and Spargo really looming as a lethal small forward combination once again in 2022. McDonald doing the ruck work. Spargo and Young happy to see it over the line. Would you like to see Cozzy Pickett play a little bit more in the midfield in the centre bounce rotations?
I think he's been there probably about the right amount today.
Okay.
Now, I haven't got the exact numbers of how many he's been in there for, but I'd say it's probably 5 to 8 minutes per quarter, it appears.
Yep.
Just by the naked eye, and I think he's that sort of play. Just go in there, impact, and then get back where you can cause the most damage.
And Spargo applies a wonderful tackle. If it's not Pickett that gets you, it's Spargo. And the small forward now can line up for goal. Tight angle, but he's very crafty around the goals and might have an opportunity for a kick here.
Looks like he's going to go the left foot around the body, opposed to the right-footed check side.
Doesn't quite have the curl that he was after. And it goes into the opposite pocket and it's out of bounds. Charlie Spargo with a terrific goal, centering goal in that second quarter onslaught from the Demons, where they kicked 5 goals, 2-2 behinds. They extended their lead in the third quarter. Horn Francis, Bowie with a big fly over the top.
Would have thought that's got to be a free kick. An umpire didn't see it. Not sure if you can...
No,
they've got it eventually.
Yeah,
That's right.
Non-controlling umpire helping out there.
I think he was blindsided, the near umpire. There was a handful of players in his line of vision.
Just watching also Stephen May heading back into the rooms as well with a couple of trainers.
I just watched him walk from the deep 50, 100 metres behind the play.
Yep.
And I just thought, well, that was his time to say you're done, come from the ground. But not when you walk into the rooms with 2 trainers. That's a different conversation.
Okay, so keep you updated if we hear anything from there. As Hibbard, probably the first blind kick we've seen all day from Melbourne, inside 50, and Josh Walker gets an easy intercept mark. Their kicking into the arc today has been sublime, the D's. Jackson, though, can create another opportunity. Neil Bullen to pick it over his head. And Josh Walker with a second straight intercept. And a beautifully weighted ball as well for Young, who marks at left half back. Jaden Hunt warming up on the sidelines here, so he might get a bit of an injection of pace.
Sam Wiedemann not warming up, though, surprisingly. I thought he would have been given a quarter.
Yep.
He's going to be a hard team to break into. Imagine being in that team selection each week. Wouldn't you love to be a fly on the wall to hear the conversations from the coaching staff trying to work out their best team week in, week out?
Still Bailey Fritsch and Jake Lever and Jack Viney and Melksham all involved in selection conundrums as well, as Petrarca unloads from beyond 50 and kicks the goal.
Gosh.
All class Christian Petrarca, and the D's take their lead to 10 goals straight, 14-7-91. North Melbourne 4-7-31 as Petrarca slams through his first of the day.
That's just raw power. That is a man with just so much talent. First of all, it's Oliver weaving his way through. Forward handball. Neil Bullen gives it back. 1, 2, 3. Get yourself lined up. You can't do much about it.
No.
The only way you can stop it is take it off the D's before they get it.
See your Brownlow pick for this year, Dale? You've done your Brownlow predictions yet?
I haven't done them.
Right.
I haven't done it. I mean, you could throw a blanket over probably 5 of them and walk away and get them all wrong.
Yep.
Like, the competition is so even. Like, a Nat Fife comes back in,
Yep.
play some more football. Bontempelli off the year that he had last year.
Carlton win a few more games. Sam Walsh polls well.
You could say Petrarca, but you've got every right to say Oliver as well.
Yeah.
Like Max Gawn. Do they steal votes off each other?
Probably the case a bit last year, no doubt. Here are the Roos. Lazaro's been lively for North Melbourne. Hayden off half-back to Scott. And they've worked that out quite nicely. The Kangaroos. Kick just over the head there of Horn Francis, but he followed up with a great tackle there, Horn Francis, to force a loose ball. And ultimately a stoppage. The kick came from Gota. So they're using Josh Gota, who was the pick 22 in last year's draft, taken early in the second round, using him mainly off half-back. Does have the versatility to play almost anywhere on the ground. He's a really good size at 190 centimetres.
We haven't mentioned Ollie Wines.
No, of course, he's decent Brownlow chance.
We better mention him. And while we're talking about Dustin Martin, deserves to have his name mentioned in there somewhere.
Hibbert dropped the mark. Curtis dived on top of it, got it to Thomas with the outside of the boot. Taron Thomas just had a bit too much curl on it and threw for a minus score.
I'll put you on the spot. Have you done your predictions? If you had to give me one name to win the Brownlow this year.
Yeah, Sam Walsh.
Okay.
Yeah, just because I think Carlton will win a few more games.
I was going to say, how many more games do they need to win? We know what Erie had last year.
Well, if they win 11 or 12, I reckon he's a huge chance. Okay. But that also depends on how well Cripps goes as well.
Yep.
And obviously the inclusions of Chera and George Hewitt. I think George Hewitt's a very underestimated recruit for the Blues. He's really going to help them out around stoppage.
Yeah, the role that he plays. So good news for the D's here. Stephen May's back onto the bench. Just getting a little bit of massage in front of us. Looks like he'll be fine.
Bowie picked it up off the pack there. Neil Bullen to Oliver to Bowie. And Brayshaw's again worked hard on the wing and immediately plays on and arched his back and put it into the middle of Casey Fields. Neil Bullen clean below his knees. Sparrow kept on running, but that is a superb handball from Neil Bullen. Sets up Sparrow, but in the end, the kick just didn't quite have enough juice on it, and it's touched through for a behind in the end. It's back to an even 10-goal differential between the two sides. Hayden again off halfback, using him a fair bit in that role today. David Noble and the Kangaroos. Spin from Rivers. He's tackled over the line and out of bounds.
Just the confidence that the D's have on turnover. They don't go back to support. They have one person there that's riding shotgun. Everybody else is getting into a position to attack. Watching the half forward start to lengthen. Where can they get the football next? And by the time he gets to Brayshaw, he's got 2 or 3 options already in front of the footy.
Curtis couldn't take it cleanly. Langdon did. There's a free kick for holding after the handball was released, and it looks like it's going to go the way of North Melbourne. Good signs from Paul Curtis, who was taken with pick 35 in last year's draft, the Western Jets product.
Yep.
Lazaro, high inside 50. Taylor from the side, had a good look at it, really hitting hard into Brayshaw there. Speaking of hitting hard, Zerha cracks in again. Marnie gets the handball towards Stevenson, but look at the power of Oliver. Wanted that footy more than anyone else, and the D's can break away here. Brayshaw to Chandler. Big bump there from Goda, forcing a mistime kicked in the end. Hayden didn't quite get a clean handball away. Umpire said play on. Pickett, so good on his left. Waits it towards half forward, just over the head of Jordan. Ball comes to the back. Jackson couldn't quite take it cleanly below his knees, and the Roos arrive to lend support. Scott and Curtis again. Didn't have enough.
Good follow-up.
Oomph on the kick, though. Yeah, great follow-up there on Bowie. Maybe
he's got done for a sling.
Yeah, and Bowie just a little worse for wear after that tackle, but able to get to his feet pretty quickly. And Jake Bowie now can reload for the D's with just under 16 and a half minutes remaining in this game. What has been a demon demolition. Harms able to get around Stevenson with ease. Kick it long inside 50. Petrarca almost had the mark. Brown picks up the crumbs and kicks the goal, and that is 4 for Ben Brown. He's been doing it mainly from a set shot today, but the big man, 200 centimetres, did the crumbing on that occasion. And we talked about how potentially he wants to, you'd like to see him improve at ground level. That was nice and clean from Ben Brown.
Well, it won't get much easier for him. I watched him just jog beside us when that free kick went back to the centre circle, or the centre square. He jogged unmanned, unmarked, the length of half the length of Casey Fields, and that's why he popped up in the goal square all by himself. A little bit disorganised behind the football, but that is the concern and the threat that the D's will force on everybody this year. They get back and they equalise those numbers, and if you're not organised and you can't find a direct opponent, you think you've got the right one, or you think you've got somebody, and then someone like Ben Brown's all by himself.
To see Ben Mackay, saw him just beforehand, just a little dazed after that big marking contest. He's just coming to the ground now with a towel and a couple of trainers. Blood rule, in fact, has been called, so Aidan Core will come on straight away for Ben Mackay. Just a reminder, Callum Coleman-Jones put on ice at three-quarter time with a left knee concern. That will no doubt be assessed in the coming days, and the full severity of that will be revealed Goldstein decisively down towards Greenwood. Thomas again, being one of North Melbourne's best today. Powell towards half forward. Just Marnie overshot his leap there and allowed the D's to pounce from behind. And Salem beautifully way to kick to Chandler. Started played mainly across half forward today, Cade Chandler, but just worked his way up the ground a little bit as this game has progressed, as Gawn hits the deck hard.
Well, we know he can kick him from there as well, so he doesn't have to get too much closer to goal. It's one of the biggest goals I reckon I've ever seen.
It was absolutely nuts. What a kick there from Gawn as well to Petrarca. Now he's within range. And considering the time that it's taken the D's to get forward here, the Roos have been able to get numbers back. So we're going to ride this Christian Petrarca set shot from right behind as well. We saw him kick a wonderful goal on the run from beyond 50 at the start of this quarter. What's he got from a set shot? Christian Petrarca, All-Australian last year, finished second in Melbourne's best and fairest. Of course, won the Norm Smith medal in a successful premiership campaign. From 52 metres, didn't quite have the accuracy on that occasion. Clearly got the distance. And it's a 61-point lead now for the D's. How can Christian Petrarca get better, Dal?
Oh, it's a brilliant question. Well, there's always areas. Now, you've got to be really detailed. You've got to be really critical to find areas for improvement for Christian Petrarca. It was probably his ability to convert in front of goals. It wasn't that long ago that was his one area. If you wanted to be, in the conversation of a Dustin Martin on that style of play, then you've got to finish off your good work. He was getting shots on goal.
Yep.
Or at goal, and just was missing. But I think if he does, someone's down behind play, it looks like it's Ben Brown.
Yeah, just noticing that. You can see that at the top of your screen there as well.
Might have been a bit of a body check from Josh Walker. So we'll just keep an eye on that. But if you're playing at that level that Christian Petrarca is, the challenge is to continue and to stay at that level. It takes a huge demand, both physically and mentally, to stay at the top of your game and the top of the competition. They're all coming for him. They're all trying to replicate and be that style of play. If he can just keep having a similar season, Benny, can't ask for much more.
That's right. Just looking at Ben Brown, he's okay. He's just getting to his feet right near the behind post here. You can see him at the top of your screen. All focus now is on the bottom of your screen where Max Gawn runs on the arc, unloads. Look at the curl. Big Max says, how good am I?
Very good is the answer.
Gawn
extremely good.
Kicks his second goal of the day. Struck that beautifully. And the Demons hit the ton at Casey. 105 plays 32. That's a 73-point differential.
Well, the ability of this man, and we saw it in finals last year, and this is just adding strings to your bow. So now the threat with a Max Gawn, because what the opposition ruckman would traditionally do is drop behind the football to be that extra number, normally in the goal square, to try and touch it on the line or to take an intercept mark. But if your opposing ruckman, being Max Gawn, is now kicking him from 50, are you going back to the goal line and trying to support your teammates, or are you actually playing on your direct opponent knowing that he is more than capable in a pre-season game, in a grand final, in a prelim?
Yeah.
He does it on all stages. He is just a threat everywhere he goes.
He comes to the bench after that goal. That's his second of the day. And
what a leader he's become as well, Ben.
Yeah.
What a leader.
There's obviously question marks when he was given the captaincy, considering, I suppose his laid-back persona off the field, but he leads by example better than anyone else in the competition. Petrarca and Oliver and Harms combine from the centre-bound stoppage there, but Pickett's given away for a free kick for pushing the back, so Turner will be given an opportunity here. So you mentioned we've been watching Sam Wiedemann all day, and he's got the training top off now, Dal.
He's just getting warmed up as we speak. So we've got roughly 12 and a half minutes to play, so he's only going to get a short opportunity. It's going to be extremely difficult to come on and put your best foot forward, no doubt about that.
Sparrow's handball intercepted by Thomas through the hands of Larkey, but Curtis was waiting there to give it to Thomas. And now they're working it out through Phillips. Taylor set Goldstein to task, but then Goldstein is able to put it towards the advantage of Zerha, but he just able to thump or push Hunt out the way, allow, in the end, Langdon to pick up a loose ball, go to Spargo, and he finds Neil Bullen and the Demons again.
And here he is again.
So good off half-back. Langdon and Hunt working away, and Hunt's got fresh legs, and we know how quick he is and how much he loves to run. A couple of bounces and a lovely kick to Ben Brown, who's back on his feet. Unselfishly plays on, hoping for McDonald. Bumped away from him in the end, but good to see Ben Brown back up and moving once again.
So Langdon is the one that ultimately gets the turnover in the back pocket. He works from the off-ball side at high speed, gets the turnover, generates the overlap coming back the other way.
Yep.
And his twin in Hunt goes forward. And once again, they go from D50 to forward 50 with another threat.
Yeah, one of those players, Jaden Hunt, that wasn't part of that premiership outfit. As a
they just can't play them all. It's as simple as that. They all probably deserve a game. They've worked hard to guess a game, and just at the end of the day, you've just got to find 22 of your best. Some really good players are going to miss out.
Top of the goal square. Goldstein there, able to thump it through. So you're looking at, from a North Melbourne perspective today, Dal, what are some of your key takeaways from what you've seen from the Kangaroos on since basically halfway through the first quarter? It's been a pretty tough afternoon for them.
It has. I think they'll get a lot of learnings, particularly the midfield, about how the best in the competition go at it. Now, it's an unrealistic expectation to be able to go for particularly 4 quarters at this pace against Petrarca and Oliver and Gawn in the ruck. But they're going to learn. So it's both the effort and the sustainability of that.
As Pickett goes inside 50, Harms one-on-one with Turner, but the ball beats him. Harms wanted a free kick, but it'll be tossed back in instead.
But it's also the structures, and I've mentioned numerous times that they're getting drawn into the contest, and they think they're doing the right thing. Let's put pressure at the source. What it actually creates against teams that are really good by hand, it actually generates natural overlap.
McDonald grabs it out of the ruck, snaps it around the body, and puts it right through the middle. Tom McDonald with his 3rd goal, and the big key forwards at the D's have made an impact on the scoreboard today. 4 to Brown and 3 to Tom McDonald. And that's Hawkins-like out of the ruck, grabbing it in a forward 50 stoppage and kicking the goal.
It's a very good tactic. So they set it up like it is just a marking contest. It's about your body work and protecting the drop zone. Tom Hawkins has almost created it as his own. It's a brilliant move, and it's so difficult to stop. That's really well executed there by Tom McDonald. So from a Kangas perspective, it's clearly been a really tough day, particularly after the first 5 to 10 minutes of that first quarter where they got on the scoreboard, had the ball in their forward half for, large chunks of that first quarter. But this is about growth. You look around and almost to a man, where's an obvious win against the D's?
Yeah.
What particular matchup can you walk or come to the ground today and say, hey, I feel really confident we're going to win this particular matchup? Just getting organised with the 6-6-6.
Yeah. So maybe a warning against the Kangaroos. So we've got Edwards going up against Sam Wiedemann in the ruck. So Wiedemann is in the ruck because I'm looking at the bench and Gawn and Jackson are both sitting on the pine. And it doesn't matter because the D's have got the clearance. Sparrow paddles it to Oliver. And can he get a lick of the ice cream? He certainly can.
It's grand final day again.
Look away now, Bulldogs fans. As
look at that.
Oliver explodes out of the stoppage and kicks his first of the day. And it is a demon fiesta here at Casey.
Let's have a really close look at this. So have a look at Oliver and his initial handball. This is a give and go. Wins the contested. That's put up in the air and he's already off. He knows that ball is going to be given back to him cleanly or surged forward. Look at that burst out of that centre square. That's deja vu.
Yeah, it is.
That is deja vu, and the celebration's very similar.
Yeah.
Different location, probably different things on the line today, Ben.
I think so.
But what a player he has become. An incredible ball winner, and now with that running capacity and the skill execution.
Last year he won his 3rd best and fairest in his 6th year with the Demons. And he's applying the tackle there on Horn Francis, but Edwards is able to find Phillips and Lazaro. Marks and plays on immediately. Sends it inside 50. Zurha was leading up. Marnie crumbs again. Clean hands there to Zurha. Edwards just fumbled at the wrong time, trying to get himself involved in the game. Zurha handballs back. Scott's got a good look at the goals here. Snaps around his body and didn't have the juice on the kick. And Langdon has worked all the way back to his defensive goal square to intercept that ball. Dangerous kick though. And it might give Marnie an opportunity to try and sniff out a 3rd goal. Curtis, wrapped up by Tomlinson, and umpire will ball it up.
Just thinking about Clayton Oliver, if there was one piece of his game that you would take, what would it be? What's his best attribute as a footballer?
Well, he's the number one contested possession player in the competition last year, so his ability to win the hard ball would be right up there. He's just so powerful now, isn't he? He'd take that attribute every day of the week.
I know it's more of a characteristic. I think he's the ultimate competitor.
Right.
And the contested possession and his dogged attitude for everything that is in his area is as good as anybody in the competition. He wants that ball as more than anybody else on the field, and he puts his nose over it when he has to. He's ferocious when the opposition have the ball.
But he also seems like he's become a smarter player as well.
Yep.
His creative nous on the outside has been just as good. There he is applying a tackle, Oliver, and almost forcing a repeat stoppage, rather. Horn Francis got a handball in there. Young immediately wrapped up by Petrarca.
And the nightmare that the opposition, in preparation of playing the Ds, who do you put your emphasis on?
Yeah.
Who do you? Not many teams have taggers, but you can have someone that tries to negate or at least cool the opposition's best midfielder down. Is it Oliver? Is it Petrarca? If Cozzy Pickett's in there, is he your biggest threat?
And he goes on the left, and he's wheeled onto both left and right foot with aplomb today. Beautiful handball from Petrarca. Puts it in front of Sparrow, who just misses. We were talking about the players beforehand that to help the Ds go to the next level.
Yep.
And they're really giving Tom Sparrow a good look at stoppages today, or a good run on the ball. Maybe he's the player. He's played 28 games for the Ds now, 21 years of age. He played 21 games last year. Maybe he's the player that can help the Ds on-ball brigade go to the next level.
And keep in mind, Viney's not here today, so he's a walk-in start in that midfield as well. It just creates opportunities for the coaching staff as well. Like you speak about Cozzy Pickett today. Well, if they need it that particular week, Cozzy Pickett can do it. Melksham can do it. Harms can do it. They've actually got a handful of players outside of their core that can pinch hit if the opportunity arises or if it's needed.
Wiedemann grabbed it out of the ruck, just able to get a handball away. Harms to Spargo. McDonald tried to position himself there against Josh Walker, but Edwards jumped in front and intercept marks. The mid-season pick one from last year. Lazaro again, been busy. Sees to switch on the outer side. Bailey Scott breaks away. Scott was an important member of the team last year. 17 games for the father-son pick.
I believe he got a rising star in his first game.
Yeah, he did against the Eagles.
Stadium. That's correct. Had a good first up hit.
That was a game where they got thumped as well by the Eagles. Horn Francis tried to win himself the free kick. None forthcoming. It'll be balled up directly in front of goal with 6.5 to play.
Todd Goldstein, Tarrant Thomas and Jack Siebel all trying to get back on the ground with, as you mentioned, 6.5 to play.
Zerha trying to get a little bit of free space here, and he's
won himself a free
kick. Yes, that was by the non-controlling umpire. So Zerha can have his first kick for goal for the day.
He plays in a really tough position, Ben. Like the role that he plays, he's often undersized. I know what he brings to the team is that aggression and at times just the uncanny knack to be able to, get shots at goal. But when you set up against an opposition with a structure like he has, he's really been free. Well, he's never been free. He's always had at least one opponent, if not two or three at times.
Directly in front, Cam Zerha. And he just squeezes it in. Late consolation goal for the Roos, but importantly for Zerha, a nice confidence booster on what has been a really tough afternoon where he's barely had any green grass to work with.
Doesn't look overly thrilled by that as well. He knows it's been a tough day. A nice finish and a little bit of reward for his effort, because it hasn't been a lack of effort. He's been working when he's been in front of the football, trying to provide that option. He's just been really well defended. It's a great Petrarca and Oliver coming from the ground.
Just about to say exactly the same thing. They've earned their keep today. Stephen May also sitting on the bench alongside Max Gawn and Michael Hibbert and Adam Tomlinson. Tomlinson's got through probably 3.5 quarters in his first game back unscathed. So the D's, some of the D's more senior players having some time on the bench. And what that means is we've now got Jackson, Jordan, Harms and Neil Bullen in the centre bounce for the D's. Goldstein up in the ruck for North Melbourne, hoping for Greenwood from the hit out. Neil Bullen applies the tackle, but that one isn't going anywhere. Be very little to It'll be pretty hard to have a glass half empty attitude if you're a Melbourne supporter from today's game, Dal.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and I think off the back of last year, there was a lot of trepidation from their supporters saying, let's not talk about it, let's make sure that we get there before we start celebrating. I reckon there'll be a different attitude. This is more, hey, we now know we are good enough. It's just about execution and getting it done. They might have patches this year where they might be a bit flat. They're in a luxurious position to say, it's okay. We know what it's about when September comes around. We've got the cattle.
Yep. Peaked at the right time.
They've got the depth. You don't want them to have any injuries, but you look at their list and the amount of players that are still missing today and the performance of some of their, I don't mean this to be rude, like lesser well-known players, even though all of them are stars, to say, hey, we can work through these challenges. A little bit like the Tigers have in previous years.
Personified peaking at the right time of the year last year as well. Did the Demons as Brown comes up and on the second attempt takes a strong mark. And that was a tough marking attempt as well, because Josh Walker, who's been valiant for North Melbourne in defence today, was right on his hammer, and Brown marks on the right side for a right footer.
Can't do anything about that, Josh Walker. That was as close to your opponent as you can play.
So we can't go back here. Ben Brown on the long run up. It looks like he might be going around the body. And our Kayo Sports camera perfectly positioned to capture this attempt at goal. And he goes through, Ben Brown, for goal number 5. And he's been a shining light today on what has been a big afternoon for the D's. They've got 19 goals. Big high-scoring performance from them. And they lead by 87 points.
Well, one thing you can always trust with Ben Brown, he'll lead at the ball carrier. He will present a straight option in a straight line. He doesn't have a lot of tricks in regards to the zigs and the zags like we know some of the other forwards do. But he'll give you an option.
Yep.
He'll have those jukes out in front. And one thing he's always been good at, Ben, is the execution of the set shot. Now, that one clearly around his body. But he's had a fine day.
Yeah. This time last year, he was struggling to get himself fit, or had certainly had those knee issues. But now he comes into the 2022 season off a great pre-season and with a confidence-boosting 5-goal haul here against the Kangaroos. Thomas from the centre bounce towards half forward. And Hunt was able to just get boot to ball there. And Salem to drive some run here. Go to attack that hard, but so did Jackson. Athletic from the big man. Paddle it to Jordan and now to Hunt towards half forward over the head of McDonald. And Wiedemann has got some fresh legs, but the ball beats him and Zeeble over the line. And it's going to be tough again for the D's at match committee with McDonald and Brown and Wiedemann. So many key position players to try and squeeze into this lineup, and the fact of the matter is, Dal, they're probably not going to be able to fit them all in.
That's the reality of the situation. Just a little injury concern here behind play. Salem just coming from the ground in the hands of the trainers, limping, so it looks to be a lower leg concern as Harms snaps one around his body on the non-preferred. It's a lovely finish.
Just keep our eyes on that. Harms kicks his 3rd goal for the day. He's been amongst the goal kickers today. But Salem just being attended to by...
It was just in that last passage of play, Benny. He got the give and go. He lobbed one over the top and then got it back on his preferred side against the boundary line.
Yep.
You can't miss him with that hair colour as well.
No, him and Joel Smith have gone the same approach, and it's questionable, but we'll pay it here on Kayo Sports today. Here's the goal from Harms, another goal from a forward 50 stoppage. Just quickly got boot to ball and able to make the most of his opportunity. So that is now a 93-point lead for Melbourne. And they've still got plenty of time to ensure that lead balloons beyond 100 points. What has been a tough afternoon for the Roos. To a certain extent, it really has felt like the reigning premiers against the reigning Wooden Spooners from a scoreboard perspective today, but still some great signs for the Roos from this game, and Taron Thomas has been one of the shining lights. Inside 50, but over the head of Larkey. Brayshaw tried to tap it towards the teammate's advantage, though, but back to Thomas and Young and Thomas and Goldstein all combining via hand. And a well way to kick here to Lazaro, who straightens up and kicks towards the top of the goal square. Taylor was there along with Zerha, but Too many demons waiting to pounce at ground level. That's been something right throughout the day, Dal, that every time the ball's gone inside North Melbourne's forward 50, it's come out pretty easily from a Melbourne perspective.
And they've been able to get those edges as well. They get the exit kick, which just takes it from a contested situation to uncontested, and therefore they can control the game. It's one of the few times they haven't got it probably past the centre coming from their defensive 50. But once again, set up really well behind the footy.
So Toby Bedford, who's come onto the ground here for the D's, number 12. Just getting a cheeky 5-minute run here. Goldstein went up high up in the contest. McDonald was really made to earn his contest there as Marnie marked. Plays on immediately, but Bailey Scott really had no room to move. And the D's just waiting to pounce again. And Charlie Spargo's played a terrific game today.
Well, the way the D's have set this up, only bringing these players on with a couple of minutes, goes a little bit like the NBA. You feel like the game's over, they clear the bench.
Yes.
Come on and have a run around. It's going to be really difficult to show your best form.
Thomas again, another disposal in this final quarter. Inside 50, Ford, that's Eddie Ford. One-on-one there with Hunt. In the end was holding the ball. He's played against Hunt. Stevenson takes the advantage and goes short, and Young can have an opportunity to kick at goal here. And that was a good tackle there from Eddie Ford, who's come on into this game late and been sort of stationed in that forward 50. The thing is, for him, the ball's barely been inside that forward 50 for most of this last quarter.
It was a ferocious tackle. I was concerned with maybe a possible dump or a drive, but it was good intent.
Lockie Young, 15 games last year for the Roos, averaged 11 disposals per outing. That's a good-looking kick off the boot. Perfectly executed. Lovely finish from Lockie Young. Probably makes it a bit harder now for the D's to bring up a triple-figure margin as North Melbourne get their second goal of the final quarter. That's what's really been about today for North, Dal, is trying to get a good look at some of these younger players like Ford and Gota. We've seen bits of him and Horn Francis and Bergman and Curtis. Something all for North Melbourne fans, a bit of a glimpse of the future.
Well, if you're a young North Melbourne supporter, you get to pick your favourite player that you're going to watch for the next 10 to 15 years. Now, clearly, Horn Francis is going to be an easy one, but you've read out a couple of names. I reckon you could go another 5 to 10 from there. You think, okay, this is the core or the nucleus of what the next decade will look like, and they've just got to fit the pieces around it. Obviously, support and develop this core group, and then just find some extra pieces. Todd Goldstein won't play forever. Jack Zeeble won't be there forever. So you need to find that stability. Who's going to be the next leaders of this football club?
Pickett again, that clever little 1%er. Try to paddle it towards the teammates' advantage, but they have the numbers at the back here, North Melbourne. Gota to Scott around the body. Nicely tapped there by the D's. Rivers got it courtesy of a tap from Jordan, but Rivers' kick was out of bounds on the full. So maybe one final forward foray here for the Kangaroos. They've got 20 seconds left. But Bailey Scott's turned it over straight to Chandler. Play on is called. So Chandler's going to go for Brown, who's eyeing 6 goals. Ball comes to the back. Wiedemann has a chance. Dribbles it along the ground. And it's rushed through for a minor score. That would have been the perfect icing on the cake for the D's. Nonetheless, it is as behind that takes the final margin to 88 points. 2012-132 Melbourne to North Melbourne 6-8-44 in what was a terrific performance from the reigning premiers. 5 goals to Brown, 3 to McDonald and Harms, and 2 as well to Max Gawn and Kay Chandler, including a huge goal from the car park. And there was one multiple goal kicker for North Melbourne, and that was Jack Marnie with 2. Everyone else got singles. Lovely day for footy, Dal. And in the end, Demons fans will be smiling ear to ear with what their team has produced today.
And so they should be. They've been waiting to see their team roll out off the back of last year's performance, and they could not be any happier. We spoke about the possibility of a couple of injuries. They all look perfectly fine. So they've got the players and the amount of work into those players that they wanted. But just the system of it, Benny, wasn't it? It was just a team trying to find what their best football could look like in North Melbourne against a group with the D's. It's just enhancing and just growing what they've been building over the last couple of years. Their execution, their understanding and their trust in each other to say, hey, you go win the football or you go defend. I'm going to get to the next point because I know you don't need 2 or 3 people getting to the football. On the flip side, it's where the Kangas are trying to get to. That understanding and that trust of, okay, I can't impact, so what's my next responsibility? What's my next task and how do I help the team? But The Ds were devastating on turnover. From their D50, their ability to move the football forward. You speak about Ben Brown and the goals that he kicked. It's the looks that he got off the back of that ball movement. He is an outcome, and their forward line at times is an outcome of what happens up the field. Petrarca, Oliver was exceptional again today. You could speak about every single player. They all did exactly what they had to do.
From a North Melbourne perspective, they had a real good look at a defence without Robbie Tarrant. It forced certainly Josh Walker to stand up along with Ben Mackay. But all through the midfield as well, we saw Taron Thomas in particular really get a lot of the ball as well. And that's probably the more on-ball time that Taron Thomas can have. That's a mighty exciting prospect for Roos fans.
Absolutely. And we speak about the options that it gives them. You want to get your best players in positions to impact the game. And for Taron Thomas, he's a good ball user. He makes really good decisions. But he also has that X factor that we speak about. So instead of just quick kicking it like some players may do, particularly out of a stoppage or a clearance, he can create something. He either does it by himself or he brings others into the game to get more bang for their buck coming out of the middle.
That's full time here from Casey Fields. It was Melbourne with a big victory in the end, 2012-132, defeating North Melbourne 6-8-44. Dal, been a pleasure to be alongside you in the deep southeast here. You're heading back to the Vision now?
I am, and it's been great to see you. It has been far too long.
Yes.
It's nice to be back in this position watching some live football again from the men's perspective.
Yeah, nice to have some men's footy back. So I hope you enjoyed our coverage on KO Sports. It's been great to have your company on behalf of Nick D'Alessandro and the entire hard-working team. This is Ben Waterworth signing off from Casey Fields, where the D's had a big 88-point win. Good afternoon.